As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff Iafrate and Booner. It's Tuesday, January 20th. We are back. We finally get our full, uninterrupted 2-hour discussion on the Lions hiring their new offensive coordinator. We were live yesterday in the morning, and of course, they hire their OC.
The timing of that.
We go live in the morning. Yeah.
The timing was brutal for the boys. I'll tell you what. As soon as that happened, I was sitting there and I was like, I almost texted you and was like, hey, should we just do a night show as well? We did the morning. Should we just do another night show? Because of the timing of it. But I guess here we are. I mean, obviously we put our reactions out on social media. I put mine out on Twitter. I had a little mixed reaction. Some people didn't like. I'm starting to learn as we grow. I get a lot of hate comments.
They're always going to be there.
Always, dude. They're growing. As you get bigger, they start growing more. But we have an OC. And shout out to as well. I will say this. Shout out to Indiana, national champions. That was unbelievable. Signetti, Fernando Mendoza. I don't know if you watched the game last night. That was one of the better national championship games I've ever seen. And Fernando Mendoza, I'll just say, like, one of the funnest and one of the best college football players I've ever watched. Like,
he's a dog, man.
Yeah.
He's a dog.
Whether you like him or not, you have to respect him. Winning the Heisman and national championship, and he made a play, dude. Like, that touchdown run that he had was
crazy.
Like the moment of that part of that game for him to have that run on a fourth down and him to. It's insane, man. I was just like, we're watching history in front of our eyes.
I'm excited to see him in the NFL. I'd be so shocked if he's a bust. I mean, he just shows so many qualities you like. You know, you like a lot of the qualities he has. Honestly, he's tough. You know, he finds a way to make a play. They take care of the ball really well. I mean,
there's those quarterbacks where, like, when they're coming out, you're like, that's a guaranteed. He feels like he's the closest, like, to that, where it's like a guarantee he's going to help turn a franchise around. Like, if I'm Vegas, I'm all in on him. I'm not even looking at any people trying to trade up, nothing. I'm taking Fernando Mendoza because he could. I don't know. It's like he doesn't have, like, he's not the most talented guy in the world, like a I don't know, like a Patrick Mahomes or whatever. But, like, dude, what he brings to the table is he's going to win you a lot of football games.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know Burning Issue just said just watch Peter Schrager's interview with Drew Petzing from 2 years ago. I like the hire a little bit more after watching it. The social media sphere, Lions fans all over were, a lot of it. I'll say this: when something happens that no one expects, like something comes out of left field, it's easy to immediately dismiss it. Which, especially when it's a name that no one is really, heard of, at least here locally. The Lions have done their due diligence. They met with Drew Petzing last week. I think he spoke to Jared Goff. They met with him and they like him, so they hired him. So it didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. But I think where I was coming from yesterday hearing the news is, okay, you interview some guys that are, qualified candidates, good resumes, Mike McDaniel obviously being the big one. But then you see the same day the Lions met with Mike McDaniel. Dan just didn't see him as quite a fit, which we'll talk about later in the show because I do want to have that discussion as well. But I think the Drew Petzing thing was just a shock. And people understand how important this hire is for this regime, for Dan Campbell. The fact of the matter is not a lot of coaches get to miss on 3 coordinator hires. That's a lot. I'm trying to be unbiased here with the Dan Campbell stuff because I love Dan Campbell. I think he's a really good coach. But just look around the NFL. Not a lot of coaches get to go miss, and then, before Ben with Anthony Lynn, if you want to count that as miss. It's a tough situation for Dan. So a lot of pressure was with the hire. So when you hear Drew or you see Drew Petzing, you're like, huh? So everyone probably took the last day or so to really dive in. Everyone in the local media has been diving into Drew Petzing. And now you're seeing more people trying to, talk themselves into really liking Drew Petzing or tweeting out some interesting stats about Drew Petzing. We're going to have an Arizona Cardinals beat writer for Sports Illustrated, works alongside the DOC. He's going to join our show at 8:30, so we'll get the perspective of the Cardinals, which largely has been negative. Take it how you wish. Cardinals fans are probably happy he's gone, along with Jonathan Gannon. But that's where I think the unhappiness of most of the fans, including myself, came from, is like, who is this guy? Who the hell is this guy? And to be honest with you, Boone, like, now I'm a day removed. I'm still not in love with the hire. I think he's better than John Morton on paper, just qualification-wise. I like him. He's young. He's been around some good coaches. He's using a modern style offensive philosophy, which I like, but he just doesn't. It's not a hire. I think, in my opinion, it was a little early. I think they're the first team to hire an OC, if I'm not mistaken. So they love him. They loved him enough to pull the trigger. Feels like it's a little early. Probably could have waited till the end of the playoffs, but other than that, they got their guy, though. That's how they look at it.
I will say too, like, I think it's one of those hires because that you haven't heard the name yet, and the name never popped up. Like, you said that they met with him last week, and Jared Goff. I didn't even see that report. So they obviously met with him. No one really heard about it. No one knew about Drew Petzing, even linked to the Detroit Lions at all. And then it comes out just out of nowhere. The first time I think Lions fans heard this guy's name was yesterday when the news broke. So listen, I think there's two sides of this, right? Like, there's a side, Jeff, of people who are like, they hate the hire, just boom off the rip. Like, hey, this is the worst hire ever because you didn't get Mike McDaniel. And two, there's the side of people who are like, this is the greatest hire of all time. Like, or they like try and like be like Dan Campbell, like, it's never wrong. I think there's a world like, and yesterday, after about an hour or two after this came out, where you live in the middle. And I know, like, it's not part of our business, Jeff, like our job, where it's like, you don't live in the middle. You have a take or you don't, or you know what I mean? You're on one side. But I do think, like, with this Drew Petzing thing, is the thing that gives me a little confidence is the fact that right away, it's January 20th. Last year, John Morton, like, I don't know when Ben Johnson took the job, but I know John Morton didn't get hired until January 30th. So another week and a half passed today. So they obviously did a lot of work. And last year, I don't want to say that they were like more so like, who do we get? But you could tell last year it took a little bit more time. And they obviously settled on John Morton, where this year it feels like with the Drew Petzing thing, like you said, like, it seems like they might really love him. And it's one of those things where it's not like he's the worst pick that we like out there.
No, I think Arthur Smith would have been worse.
Exactly.
I would have been really upset with
other people out there that they met with where you're like, I would rather have Drew, right? And I think the biggest thing with this one is, and I know you're going to hate to hear this and people are going to hate to hear this, it feels like one of those hires, Jeff, where you have to, like, and I don't even know how to explain it without saying these words, but like the wait and see game. And it's not like the John Morton wait and see game where you're like, John Morton was never an OC. Like, I think the good thing about the wait and see game with Drew Petzing is that he does have some positives attached to him, like more than John Morton. Where John Morton, there was really nothing. It was more so like, hey, trust me, bro. Like, it was one of those things. Like, Dan was just like, hey, trust me, bro. And it feels like Drew Petzing, like, he has a lot of positives attached with him. Like, he's very, very good in the run game. And I know last year they weren't as good, but like, he is a very, very heavy run offensive coordinator, where that's what he wants to do. That's something the Lions, the last 2 or 3 years, like, if you're a Lions fan mad at this hire, you're probably also a Lions fan that was mad that they weren't running the ball, and their run efficiency went down a lot this last year with John Morton. And that's something that Drew Petzing brings to the table. And I don't want to say like what's the other word with this? Oh, we're talking about Mike McDaniel, so I won't even get into that because I think there's a whole theory about the Mike McDaniel thing. I'll get into it, and I was about to go into that with Drew Petzing. But I think with Drew Petzing, like, he brings the run game aspect to it, Jeff. But I also think that he wants to, again, we heard the same thing with John Morton, but he wants to keep the initial offense and the structure of how they do things within Jared Goff and with this offense. Does that make sense? Where I think with Mike McDaniel, and I'll say this later, like, I think Mike McDaniel, the reason they're like, hey, not a good fit, my guess is like Mike McDaniel and some of these OCs came in, hey, we want to change things up a little bit. Like, we want to do what we do best. Where I think Drew Petzing is a guy where he's like very good offensive mind, has worked with a lot of different people, and a very, very elite offensive coordinator when it comes to the run game, and that's like his bread and butter. But Dan's also like, hey, we still want to keep to our bread and butter offensively when it comes to what we do with Amon-Ra, what we do with JMO, what we do with Jared Goff. I think one of the biggest things that I actually like about Drew Petzing is the personnels that he uses. And the biggest thing of them all is like his play action. And his quarterbacks typically play under center. And I think that's been an issue. Like with John Morton, like last year, how many times did we see Jared Goff like in shotgun on 3rd and 1 or on 4th and 1 on the goal line instead of being under the center and playing kind of a tight end heavy, like a 13 personnel, like just tight end heavy and run the ball with David Montgomery. Like we never really saw that this last year with John Morton, even Dan Campbell. But I think that kind of Drew Petzing gets back to that where Ben Johnson a lot of the times as well like to kind of go through those personnels and more tight ends and run the ball. And I know people joke around like, oh, like I saw your tweet, like, oh, Drew Petzing and Ben Johnson, they had a beard together. It's supposed to be like, so he's supposed to be good. But like, I do think realistically, like those two probably like, they're very good friends. They probably talk every day, every week. They probably have similar philosophies on how they want their offenses to look and how they approach the game of football. And I think that might be like what Dan Campbell wants to get back to. And if that's the case, Jeff, like I'll say quite frankly, I like that more than what we had last year with John Morton going into the year. Like, I like the fact that they want to get back a little bit to like ground and pound, Jared Goff under center, and opens everything else. Because that's when they've been that good. You know what I mean? And it's like it's not like they haven't been good over the last year. They were still the 5th best offense in the NFL. But those third quarters and those significant games versus the best of the best in the NFL, they really struggle with versus the Chiefs, the Eagles, versus the Packers twice. Those are the games where it's like, dude, you got to have your bread and butter ready to go. And I would think Drew Petzing, I would think he kind of has that side with him where, hey, he was in Arizona and yeah, people might have hated him in Arizona. We might talk to a beat reporter who might not like Drew Petzing because of what he was in Arizona. I think it's something that you have to take a step back and be like, wait a second, let's compare Arizona's offense to the Detroit Lions. This guy's going from, I don't know, a nice Kia to like a Lamborghini. And the Kia is not a bad thing. I think Kias are really nice. Do you like Kias, Jeff? Do you see like those 2025 Kias? Really nice cars. And like you have, Marvin Harrison Jr. and you had Kyler Murray and you had Trey McBride. So you had a nice car that you were driving. But you come to Detroit and you're like, hey, you have Sam Laporta, a really elite tight end. You have really two really good wide receivers, arguably 2 top 15 wide receivers. You have 2 top 20 running backs. You have a top 10 quarterback. Like, he didn't have that in Arizona. So maybe the game changes for him a little bit. And it's like, hey, look, like, let's see what he could do with this. And I think the negative part about it is obviously someone who obviously wasn't that great the last few years and, hasn't had the success that you want, like a Mike McDaniel or someone like that. So I think obviously there's the negative side. So I see both sides of it.
There's two things that I realized when I saw the hire. One, Dan Campbell doesn't want to call plays, nor do I think he should. I've been consistent with that. I think he wants a guy who's called plays. So I was like, okay, check that off the list. Drew Petzing's going to call plays. So the question of whether or not Dan's going to continue or not is over, in my opinion. The other thing is how bad they miss Ben Johnson. I think that's just another staple, another, I guess, indication that they do miss Ben, because the first one was hiring John Morton. Well, this guy was around Ben Johnson when they first, made the offense. So John Morton, we're going to bring him in because he was in the same room as Ben and smelled his cologne and he was helping him create the offense. Obviously, Drew Petzing goes back with Ben Johnson since their days at Boston College. It's been a while. They've been friends in his wedding, of course, best man. So there's a lot of connection there. I don't really care. And this is the one thing, and this people might disagree with this, and that's fine. People will bring up all the coaches he's been around. Personally, I don't really care. We did this whole thing with John Morton. I don't really care who he was around because John Morton was around a very good, legendary offensive coaches. I look at, I look at resume. I know he doesn't have much of it. That's where the questions come into play is like, there's a lot of question marks that personally I want answered. I think the positives you kind of dove into, and I'll go through some of the things I wrote down that I really like. You nailed it. He values under center football, running the ball, heavy personnel. The league's moving to more of a 13 personnel league like the Rams are doing where they have 3 tight ends on the field. The Cardinals were first in 13 personnel, 12.5% of the time. Makes the Isaac Tesla pick a little confusing, in my opinion. Kind of with this whole, I don't know how that's going to fit into play, but maybe there's times where they have to kind of squeeze in those 3 wide receivers. But still, he's kind of moving in the modern, NFL, what teams are doing. This is interesting. Colton Pouncey put this out. 6th lowest 3-and-out rate from 2023 to 2025. 6th highest. The only teams above them: Lions, Bills, Cowboys, Rams, 49ers. So they're good on 3rd down. They were terrible on 4th down, and there was situational football where they weren't very good, but still 3rd down, they were converting 3rd downs, dude. So that's something your team couldn't fucking figure out how to do. So that's I look at that as pretty important. He has ties to Hank Fraley, obviously. I don't know if that means anything, but still they have some familiarity there. Some of the question marks I have, and I want your opinion on this. I was looking into this, and again, I'm not saying this is the end all be all. It's just something a question I'm raising, and I would like, it's going to get answered this year, because the biggest thing people are mentioning with Drew Petzing is his rushing attack from 2024. A lot of Cardinals fans, and I don't think Cardinals fans are, I'm not saying these guys are, what they say is the truth, but one thing I kept seeing is someone named Clayton Adams. Like, oh, Clayton Adams. I'm like, who the hell is Clayton Adams? I looked into it. He's the offensive coordinator of the Cowboys this year. And he was the run game coordinator and offensive line coach of the Cardinals last year in 2024. He's known for his run game experience, and what he excels at is the run game. So in 2024, the Cardinals had they were 7th in rushing yards and 8th in rushing touchdowns. Okay, so they were a very good rushing unit with James Conner. James Conner had a really good year. Clayton Adams leaves to Dallas. This year, the Cardinals are decimated with injuries, so it's hard to really judge. They were injured. They were on like their 5th string running back. So you didn't really get to see this offense without Clayton Adams, but you did see the Cowboys with Clayton Adams. They went from the 26th rushing attack last year in 2024, 2 years ago, to the 9th this year. They added Javonte Williams, obviously, but he changed a lot. He's their OC over there. He handles all run game duties. So I want to know, his specialty or his, him being a savant in the run game. I'm curious because Hank Fraley ran the run game this year, and it wasn't impressive. And I know the offensive line wasn't that good, so maybe that's on Brad Holmes to kind of build up the O-line. But I want to see that narrative kind of play out, where it's like, was the run game, are we going to credit the run game guru, Clayton Adams, or is it Drew Petzing, and he's like the expert? You know what I mean? That's the stuff I was kind of digging into, where I was curious.
Well. I do think, like, with that, though, to a good point, like with Hank Fraley, I think last year, like, I think even the last couple of years with the Lions, we're pretty sure Hank Fraley's been the run game coordinator. So I like, and you saw the drop off a little bit this year. So I think for like just the aspect of that, like offensive, I think it just goes down to offensive line, like obviously who you have in kind of the personnel that you have. So I think that was a drop off. I think that's a good point, though.
I'm just curious. I'm not saying the guy's a dumbass.
And I do think like taking it for what it's worth, I do think, again, Arizona Cardinals this year, I think everyone who ever watched them or even followed them a little bit knew that their running backs, like they lost, like James Conner barely played this year. And like you can go down the line. They lost like wide receiver or running back 1, 2, 3, whatever it was. So I just think it is hard to, like you said, it's hard to see that. But I do think maybe a Drew Petzing with Hank Fraley, and this goes back, Jeff. This goes back to my number one issue this offseason. And what did I say? What did I say, like, from the jump of this OC? And this is why I'm not overreacting to the offensive coordinator hire, because one, I don't think you can get worse than what you had last year with John Morton. And again, respect to John Morton, but John Morton lost play calling 5 or 6 weeks in. So you couldn't get worse than that. And at least you got a guy, like, I think the number one thing with you, Jeff, that you said, like, why hasn't this guy been an OC? Like, why wasn't John Morton ever an OC? It's not like Drew Petzing was never an OC, or he was a guy, like an older guy who's been in the league for 20 years and has never gotten an opportunity. And it's like, why hasn't he gotten an opportunity? Is he really not good? No, Drew Petzing, watching, like I watched the Peter Schrager video and learned kind of his process and story through the NFL. Like, he is a respected assistant in the NFL. Like, extremely respected. And I'm not going to, like you said, I'm not going to name all the people he's worked with, because that's like what we did with John Morton. But you saw at an early age, like, this guy is not 50 years old or anything. He's 38 years old. He got an OC job at the age of 35. Like, This is a coach where people are like, hey, a young coach that a lot of people are looking at like, hey, this guy's have a really bright future. Like he works his tail off. And one thing that you brought up that you wanted in an OC was a guy who's worked at different positions. He's worked with quarterbacks.
Yep,
he's worked with wide. He was a quarterbacks coach in Minnesota, a wide receivers coach in Minnesota, a tight ends coach in, I believe, Cleveland, a quarterbacks coach in Cleveland. He's worked with almost every single position group offensively. And then he gets this opportunity to be an OC. So he has the experience. And I think that was something, again, I think the side, Jeff, of no one really knowing who he was kind of opened up the light where people were like, what are we doing? But then when you start to break it down a little bit and actually start to say, okay, well, what were what's the word I'm looking for? Like, what were the kind of points that we were looking for in our next OC? Yeah. And me and you talked about it a lot. And a lot of these qualifications that we talked about, like realistically, if you break it down, like Drew Petzing does have. The only thing he doesn't have is like, he just hasn't been an OC for like a top 5 offense. And the argument you can make is like, well, he just hasn't been a part of a top 5 offense. So maybe now that he finally does have that opportunity, maybe he hits the ground running with it. And again, I'm with you on like the being a little bit spectacle or whatever it is in regards to that because of the John Morton thing last year. So I'm like a little cautious, but I do think like I'm taking a little bit more steps forward than I was with John Morton to where I'm like, okay, this guy has been an OC. This guy has
John Morton. I mean,
no. And like John Morton's like, he's been like, he's 50 something years old. And he's been jumping around his whole career where it's like Drew Petzing hasn't really like jumped around. Him jumping around has been him moving up the ladder because he's so respected. And all these Hall of Fame coaches are like, yeah, we want him in our building. We want him in our building. And now all of a sudden, you know, he got the opportunity in Arizona, which like, dude, I could emphasize this enough. Like that wasn't the best opportunity. The guy is coaching Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray out of the 3 years he was there was hurt for 2 of them. So he was like coaching Josh Dobbs and Jacoby Brissett, and you know, he didn't really have anything to work with. And I'm not going to make excuses for him. But I think there's a side where this could go really bad, but also this could end up turning into one of those things where it's like, hey, this is a really good young offensive mind, and he could be Dan's next guy that goes off and gets a head coach job. And I think if you were looking at last year's hire to this year's, I think this one leads more so towards the, hey, this could be actually a good hire. That's in my opinion, after like letting it a day and settle down a little bit.
I think it's just, to be honest, like, and I'm just stating a fact. It's a massive risky hire, but they obviously love the dude. You know what I mean? They clearly love the dude, but it's a massive risk to hire Drew Petzing just because you don't really, he just kind of came out of nowhere. And I'm not saying that like he doesn't have, you know, any backing in the NFL, but the thing I was curious about was, I wonder why he didn't get interviewed elsewhere. Like there wasn't anyone else that interviewed Drew Petzing.
There could be a world where he did. We just didn't see it. We didn't even know he interviewed for the Lions job.
Like I'd be curious why he didn't like get one, because Jonathan Gannon got fired, so he was basically like, I mean, why didn't the Cardinals interview him?
For the head coaching job?
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Again, maybe they did. We just didn't see. I don't know.
That's where that's where my mind was like, I'm just like, there's things I'm skeptical about. Like the one big thing people keep bringing up, by the way, is which is like it's the easy thing to say, which Cardinals fans say it like, "Oh, good luck, Amon-Ra, J-Mo, they're screwed," or something. Guys, like there's context to that. Like I'm not going to say the guy doesn't like using wide receivers. If you go watch, there's a Kurt Warner sat down with Phoenix Sports. It's like this shout out to Noah. He works over there. And Kurt Warner was asked about the lack of wide receiver production for the Cardinals. And Kurt Warner was like, listen, man, you don't think an offensive coordinator wants to get his wide receivers involved. Every play design, every play, your first read is typically a wide receiver. So if you really want to go down that route, technically that's on the quarterback. You know, it's not like I could be wrong, but I don't think Drew Petzing is drawing up plays to throw to the running back every play. Maybe Trey McBride for sure. But even then, Kyler Murray, like there is some blame on him as well. Like he doesn't see the field very well. And that's kind of what Kurt Warner was like kind of alluding to is like, is it because they just don't want to throw to their wide receivers, or is it because the play design, or the progressions, Kyler Murray's just not hitting who's number one in the progression, it's so I think there's blame that you could definitely put on Kyler Murray. So I'm not going to even bring up like, well, they don't use wide receivers. I'm not going to go down that route. The thing I will mention though, this is just the question I'm curious with Drew Petzing is he got a lot of questions this year. Jonathan Gannon was asked this a lot of times I was reading on after like losses about their situational play calling. So that's probably another area I'm curious to see kind of with Drew Petzing. They were always asked like, and I think that's what people were getting more pissed with him about is situationally, like they would run like a halfback draw on like 3rd and 9 or something, like, or there's some moments like that where people would be like pissed off. So I don't know. These questions could very well be answered this year, but I'm very skeptical, but I don't think it's like this John Morton level hire where John Morton, in my opinion, when he was hired, you're like, ooh.
Do you think there's a world? Yeah. Well, do you think there's a world like Drew Petzing playing for Jonathan Gannon? And you bring this up a lot with defensive head coaches to where we talk about like as an offensive coordinator, sometimes if you have a defensive minded head coach, you don't get to kind of blossom and learn as much as you would, let's say if you're an OC with an offensive minded coach. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a little bit, and it's the same vice versa for a DC that's coaching under an offensive minded head coach, where it's like, hey, you're kind of just in charge of that unit, and your head coach, yeah, he's going to give you his thoughts, but his main thing is defense, or his main thing is offense. Where Drew Petzing for the last 3 years was with Jonathan Gannon, a defensive minded head coach, correct? And he had also Kyler Murray, who, as you just mentioned, Kurt Warner even said, like, not the best at making reads. And like, I wonder if Drew Petzing gets in the building here and learns a lot, as a play caller under a guy like Dan Campbell, and especially too working with Jared Goff, where we know Jared Goff, and this is known with Ben, where Jared's someone who's, making audibles, and he's also essentially like another offensive coordinator on the field. And during weeks planning for games, to where I'm guessing Jared Goff is at a higher level than Kyler Murray at viewing the game. That would just be my guess, based off of kind of history.
Shout out Noah. He just joined. He said Drew loves running up the middle on 3rd and long.
Like, you don't think like if Drew tried to run it on 3rd and long, like Dan and Jared, like if Jared gets that play call, if Jared Goff gets that play call in his helmet and he hears like it's a run, he's gonna be like, we're not doing that. Like, and Jared on the field is going to, and we know Jared will take control. We've heard stories of Jared taking control and change the play on the field. Like, he will do that. Jared be like, no, we're not. We're throwing it to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like,
yeah, it's like, all right, little bro, chill out. Well,
yeah, and you would think though that Drew Petzing coming to Detroit is going to probably, like, those are things that's like, hey man, you do have to. We don't do that here. Like, we don't run the ball on 3rd and 13.
Well, I have the perfect person we can talk to about it. He actually spoke to our good friend, the Doc, John Macri, who covers the Lions for Sports Illustrated. That guy's a character. We love the Doc. We got our guy Donnie joining. He covers the Arizona Cardinals and Phoenix Suns for Sports Illustrated, and he's the perfect guy, to kind of talk to, because he's covered Drew Petzing the last 3 years. I mean, he's been with Arizona 3 years, so we'll get to talk to Donnie on that. So please welcome to the show, Donnie. I'm gonna attempt. Is it Donnie Druin?
You got this.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, what's going on, Donnie? How you doing?
Perfect. Good, man. Good. Thanks for the invite, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. You know what, Donnie, we're really doing our best here to kind of navigate we got a crowd of Lions fans that are pissed off, and rightfully so in some cases with the Mike McDaniel stuff, and then you have another section of Lions fans where it's like, well, maybe it's just the Cardinals that were bad. Maybe we're not the problem. Maybe it's the Cardinals that were bad. You've covered Drew Petzing. You covered the Cardinals. Where are you coming from with how's your experience been watching Drew Petzing offense the last couple of years?
Yeah, the thing with Drew's offense, and I see Noah in the chat. I feel like I'm decent friends with him, so shout out to Noah.
Oh, we love Noah.
Dude, Noah's great, man. Noah's an awesome guy. So when Drew's offense is kicking, like, it's going, like the ground game is humming, like the play action game is keeping defenses honest and closer to the line of scrimmage. But whenever it's not clicking, like, all bets are off, man. Like, all bets are completely off. It turns into a one-dimensional show under Drew. And I think maybe if I had to, like, hand pick like a quote unquote perfect spot for Drew to go to, it would be a team that can run the football extremely well, that has a big, tall quarterback that can see over the middle of the field, that can execute play action, that has downfield weapons that can be hit 30, 40 yards on the field, but also can work the intermediate game as well. And I think it's probably the Detroit Lions. Obviously, Sam Laporta, a premium tight end. Cardinals fans know all too well about how tight ends are going to be used under Drew Petzing. So if Drew's going to go anywhere, it's probably best he lands in Detroit. And I get I don't want to call it excitement. I see the fit with Drew Petzing in Detroit for sure.
Yeah, what do you think? Like for Lions fans that are trying to take some of the positives out, I know you mentioned a few things there. When you look at this Detroit Lions offense, for Lions fans, what do you think are some things that Drew Petzing will be able to take advantage of? Is it the Jahmyr Gibbs, or is it more so you look at Amon-Ra and J-Mo, like you mentioned, kind of some downfield threats? And then especially too, I mean, I'll even go into like the Trey McBride thing. What he did with Trey McBride in Arizona. Do you think he could even take a guy like Sam Laporta to a different level? Is there anything positive like that for some of these fans to take out of Drew Petzing coming here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the bread and butter for Drew Petzing is going to be his ability to run the ball. And I think if Drew had it his way, the Lions are going to run the ball probably 30, 35 times a game at minimum. But I think when you can establish the run and when you have running backs like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, that certainly is going to pay dividends over the course of 4 quarters. And I think that the shift we saw in Arizona, specifically this year, going from a Kyler Murray-led offense to a Jacoby Brissett-led offense, Jacoby's just a mold of a big veteran quarterback who can progress through reads. And I'm not saying anything negative about Kyler Murray, but like Jacoby's a guy who can spread the football. He can carry out play action very well. Like he's very much more so of a Jared Goff prototype as opposed to a Kyler Murray prototype. And right. I think that's why we saw more success with the Cardinals offense. Now, granted, it threw the ball more than anybody else in the league. Like they led the NFL in passing attempts last year. But I just think like Detroit's overall ingredients in the kitchen to cook is a lot better than Arizona. So like, I don't think Drew Petzing was necessarily set up to succeed in Arizona, but like, I do want to be very clear. Petzing was not the problem with the Cardinals, but he was a problem for Arizona. And I think if we want to get into it a little bit, guys, part of his downfall was his inability to adjust. And I think my biggest thing with Drew Petzing was I'm of the opinion that what separates good to great coordinators is your ability to mold guys to their system. Right. It's, hey, you know what? We have this guy at running back. We have this guy at receiver. Let's make things work around them. In Arizona, it felt like Drew was very much in the mindset of, hey, like, this is how we're running things. You have to adapt to how we're running things. And I think that's why we saw Marvin Harrison Jr.'s numbers misused, however you want to put it. It's why it took Michael Wilson so long to get going. That's why for Drew Petzing's most of his 3-year tenure, the offense was very, very stagnant. And I think you could look to him not having Kyler Murray the first half of his first year because Kyler's coming off an ACL injury. And we all know, like, guys, it normally takes about a year for especially quarterbacks to really feel like quote unquote themselves again after coming back from a major injury. So there wasn't, I feel like, a whole lot of time to where the Cardinals were like really able to supplant the offense with a lot of talent. But it just felt like defenses, they knew Drew Petzing's offense. If you loaded the box, and we saw this at the end of 2024, because people forget the Cardinals were 6-4 last year. They were leading the NFC West. They controlled their own destiny to go to the postseason. But I think coordinators figured it out slowly but surely. Let's get 7 or 8 guys in the box. Let's turn the Cardinals into a one-dimensional, like, you have to pass your kind of team. And I think for as much as we talk about Drew Petzing's ability in the run game and experience with that, his passing schematics are not up to par. He was not able to scheme anybody open. And I think you guys brought up the point before I got on. Maybe that changes in Detroit because he didn't have anybody in Arizona to really kind of bank off of. It was Jonathan Gannon, the defensive guy, and then Nick Rallis, who like really only had defensive experience calling plays on that side of the ball too. It just felt like Drew's overall arc in Arizona, like it looked good for a little bit, but he really failed to change. He really failed to adapt over the course of not only 4 quarters, but over the course of a season as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because I saw a lot, I was creeping on Cardinals Twitter, which, that place is.
Apologies, bro.
Yeah, dude. Lions Twitter. I mean, it's all fan bases, but I was creeping because of this, the Drew Petzing thing. And I kept seeing this name, Clayton Adams, come up. I kept seeing Clayton Adams. Because people here in Detroit, people are talking about his his run game and how that's like Drew Petzing's specialty. And we obviously were inconsistent running the ball, but then Cardinals fans were like, nah, man, that was Clayton Adams. So I started looking into Clayton Adams, and I was like, okay, now I'm understanding why Clayton Adams is getting praised a lot, because, he goes to Dallas. They go from the 26 rushing offense to 9, with Clayton Adams. I know they obviously added personnel, so it's not just one guy. But he leaves Arizona. You guys had a bunch of injuries this year, so it's hard to kind of judge, without Clayton Adams. But who is Clayton Adams? How important was he to the run game? And is that narrative about Drew Petzing being a run game specialist, is that heavily on a guy like Clayton Adams, or is there truth to that with him and his specialty?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. And I think Petzing, coming from the Kevin Stefanski coaching tree, that's kind of the bread and butter, right? Like, that's what, if you are going to be good at anything coaching under Stefanski, it's going to be running the football. So they were one of the best rushing teams in the NFL in 2024. And then Clayton Adams dips this past offseason, goes to become the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think people who close to the organization were that was Jonathan Gannon's top assistant. And he not only was the offensive line coach, but he was heavily involved in both game planning and run schematics. And that was very, very clear. Almost immediately, it was clear that drop off the Cardinals would have with and without Clayton Adams. I don't think he's entirely the scapegoat. And I don't think Drew Petzing is entirely the scapegoat as well. But and I know injuries are a thing. Injuries happen to every team. The Cardinals did have a lot this year, but in the 2 games we saw of James Conner and a decently healthy Cardinals offensive line, they weren't even able to run the ball in those first 2 games. Now, granted, it's the beginning of the season. It's all new. It was certainly adjustment going from Clayton Adams to Justin Fry, their new offensive line coach from Ohio State. But Clayton Adams had a very, very big hand in the Cardinals rushing attack. And I think maybe that's what played a little bit into the disappointment of Drew Petzing is, hey, you're going to have more of this responsibility. You are going to, quote unquote, be the guy and have even more on your plate than you did previously. Let's see how good you are without this high caliber assistant coach. And I think the true color showed over the course of a 17-game season.
Yeah. Also, Donnie, I do want to ask you, and I actually saw our guy Lukas in the chat actually said, "Hey, can someone ask Donnie this?" But something with Drew Petzing and the offense. What is it like? What was it like in Arizona with the development of wide receivers? Because here, obviously, Amon-Ra's developed, but Jameson Williams is still getting to that point. And then you have Isaac Tesla that we just brought in, and obviously that's a big kind of aspect here of the Lions' offense is the wide receiver play. How was he, over the last 3 seasons with Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson? I mean, that's a name I think a lot of people learned the last year or so. But what is he like kind of working with wide receivers and developing those guys?
Yeah, I wouldn't say too much, just because Petzing's offense is so heavily predicated on the run. At least it was in Arizona. And then whenever you had passing options, it was all pro tight end Trey McBride. And then you were trying to, I guess, force feed Marvin Harrison Jr., for lack of a better term, in his rookie year. And so there's so much left in the tank for Marv. I mean, that's such a big discussion out here in Arizona. Then obviously, if you even pay attention to the NFL or you play fantasy football, you found out who Michael Wilson was. But there's a lot of people within the organization who even cover the team and root for the team that knew how good Michael Wilson could be, and he's just never really got the opportunity. So I don't think a lot of development took place. I don't know if that's entirely on Drew for a lot of the reasons that we just went over, but there's no guy that jumps off to my mind that was maybe a practice squad guy or maybe a 4th or 5th guy on the depth chart that's just really grew and improved under the watch of Drew Petzing, just because it was so top heavy whenever they did throw the football.
Is my internet? Am I good? Am I back?
Oh yeah, you're good, man. That was
all right. Am I good? Okay, sorry.
You've been there the whole time, brother.
All right. Anyway, I'm back. Okay.
Sorry about that, Donnie.
I'm back. Okay. Am I okay? Okay. Let me ask you this, Donnie.
You good?
Sorry about that. Yeah. Am I good? Am I good to go?
Bro, yes, you are good to go.
You're chilling. Yeah.
Dude, are you having a stroke over there? What's happening right now?
He interviewed. He interviewed for the Chicago Bears job, and that's the thing people bring up is he interviewed Ryan Poles, liked him a lot to interview him. Can you kind of speak on that? Because we were wondering why Arizona didn't interview him to be even a head coaching role, or other organizations having interest in a guy like Drew Petzing. Can you explain the NFL interest in a guy like Drew Petzing? Because he came out of nowhere for the Detroit Lions, and that's where people were frustrated.
Yeah, I think people were surprised whenever he initially got that Chicago Bears interview last offseason. There was certainly a lot of promise heading into this offseason, but the Cardinals took so much of their capital in both free agency and the draft and put it towards the defensive side of the ball. They really didn't upgrade the offense. Like they did not make any changes pretty much whatsoever to the offense side of the ball. So like they were essentially banking on continuity and the power of friendship. Marvin Harrison Jr. putting on muscle heading into year 2 and maybe another year with Kyler Murray, really taking that offense to the next level. That's just that didn't happen for whatever reason. And I think the reason why Drew didn't even get looked at for a head coaching interview is a lot of people around here, this isn't confirmed, but a lot of people around here feel like Gannon was afraid to make changes to his staff because he vehemently defended Drew Petzing and Nick Rallis, his defensive coordinator, too, when both sides of the ball were just failing up the wazoo. He refused to make changes. Jonathan Gannon refused to step in and take over or any play calling duties, any stuff like that. And I just think owner Michael Bidwell just, I guess, had enough of it and just wanted to cut ties, not have any association with this prior coaching staff heading to 2026. I think he wanted somebody with prior head coaching experience. I think he wanted, I guess, if he was going to get a play caller, maybe somebody a little bit more innovative or forward thinking, maybe a guy from the McVay or Shanahan tree or something like that. So I definitely understand why the Cardinals didn't take Petzing in for an interview at least.
Hey, Donnie, what do you think? So this is more so, this is like a very weird random question. But here in Detroit, and I'm sure you've seen the Lions with Ben Johnson, he was very creative in different trick plays and kind of just offensive scheme in general had that creativity. Is there, I know, Drew Petzing's a very run heavy guy and run heavy scheme first. Is there any creativity that he kind of goes about and uses? I have seen a couple clips that popped up of a few different kind of trick plays and things that he does do. Was there anything on that aspect, though, that Lions fans maybe have something to look forward to? Like, hey, maybe we get back. Because last year we went away from it a lot with John Morton. Is there a way that maybe he comes in and brings that back and brings back what Ben Johnson was doing here in Detroit?
Yeah, I don't think he's like a Shanahan or McVay kind of creative dude where he's going to pull out the bag of tricks, but like he certainly did pull it out at least like once or twice per game. I feel like he's not dull. Like he's not completely vanilla in his approach. I think maybe the biggest thing with Petzing is, and gotta have it scenarios. There were multiple times where a defense got a big stop on the Cardinals offense last season, and post game, the defense said, hey, we knew what they were doing due to film study. Like we knew exactly what they were going to do after watching the film. And that wasn't just one team. That was multiple defensive coordinators, not coordinators, multiple defensive players that had said that after getting a big stop in a close win against the Cardinals. But the thing with Petzing is that like you'll see the little creativity, the little wrinkles, and it's like, okay, well, like where's this at? Like between the 20s, sometimes it's like, okay, Drew Petzing is very, very good. But I mean, like situationally, there were many times this past year where if you listen to any Cardinals fan talk, they're going to tell you earlier in the year, they had a 4th and 2, got to have it in overtime. And they threw a go ball to a double covered practice squad receiver, and the entire stadium just go nuts for like all the wrong reasons, obviously. And so it's like you see the little glimpses of what Drew Petzing can be. And that's a guy who just dominates the run. It should be pretty good at like scheming the run between the tackles and, kind of sprinkling in the little play action, little fun stuff here and there. It just was not anywhere close to consistent enough. Then, like I said a little bit earlier, just the adjustments. Like Drew Petzing just really does not feel, at least in Arizona, maybe he changes. Maybe he learned a lot from his first time experience. And then, like you guys said before I got on, maybe Dan Campbell was able to kind of help get him to that next level. And obviously, I think the Lions' offensive weapons are head and shoulders above what the Cardinals currently have. But it just felt like Petzing wasn't able to adapt. Like over the course of 4 quarters, over the course of an entire season, defenses figured out what to do, and it didn't feel like he had a counterpunch to it.
This is going to sound like a random question, but it's based, and this is my last one before we get you out of here. We dealt with John Morton. The thing about John Morton that people were getting pissed off about is, they would have a bad offensive performance or they couldn't run the ball, and John Morton had a problem sometimes with accountability. So it was more than just a schematic thing. People had more a problem with the human, like he was pissing people off. How is Drew Petzing as the human? Because I know people have a problem with some in Arizona. They had problems with this play calling, situational play calling, but just as the person, How was the person Drew Petzing in Arizona, according to Cardinals fans and media?
I mean, person was cool. They hated his press conference because I guess fans get pretty upset whenever you have a bad game and you don't go over a microphone and say, you know what, like I suck, like I should be better. Like, you know, like we need to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball 20 times per game, guys. Like that's on me, of course. It was just he gave a lot of coach speak. He gave a lot of like media trained, like, hey, like I'm not gonna point fingers at anybody. I'm just going to keep it very vague. And you know what? Like, we'll get him next time. That's kind of what Petzing was. Like, he was by no means a bad dude. I enjoyed my interactions with him. He seemed like a great guy. But that doesn't win football games in the National Football League. And as I'm clearly finding out with your guys' chat right now, Lions fans will not throw him any bones this year. So I hope he does well, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and this is why I wanted to bring you on, Donnie, because you provide a perspective that we just don't have. So we appreciate the hell out of you, Donnie. You guys can follow Donnie, of course, if you want to stay in touch with the enemy. As always, Donnie will talk to you. Hopefully, maybe we steal another one of your coaches. You steal one of our coaches, and we'll chop it up again. But appreciate you, Donnie.
Absolutely, thank you guys. Appreciate you.
There you go,
Thanks, Donnie.
Druin covers the Cardinals and the Suns. Does some great work over at Sports Illustrated with our friend. Working alongside the DOC, the doc. But you kind of got the perspective there of Donnie, and I don't know what's going on. I went full stroke.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that was
you went full stroke. You were good on my end. That's why I was like, is this guy okay? Because you were like, and I saw you moving, and I was like, dude, you're fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, everyone was delayed. It was stupid. But anyway,
I mean, me and Donnie were like, what's wrong with Jeff right now? Like we could hear you perfectly fine.
I think, to be honest, like a lot of what Donnie said is and he nailed a lot of that stuff. It was interesting to hear him kind of speak on it, but it's a lot like we were talking about before he joined. It's like those are the question marks that they're going to come with it. Obviously, there's something there. There's something there. It's whether or not Drew Petzing can tap into it. I don't know.
I don't think that's the worst. Like I think again, like Arthur Smith gets brought in, interviewed. Like if that happens, there's a million more question marks with an Arthur Smith than there is with the Drew Petzing. At least with the Drew Petzing, it's still a young guy who he's had an opportunity, but the opportunity wasn't fully the best. Where like Arthur Smith, I mean, the man had a head coaching job at Atlanta, blew that up. And then, I mean, he goes to the Steelers and he was like that Steelers offense. I feel like I could have taken that offense over and probably did a little bit more than what Arthur Smith did. I could be wrong, but I think the Drew Petzing
least favorite
for sure.
So I think the Drew Petzing least favorite.
Yeah. So I think the Drew Petzing thing, obviously, like unless you got Mike McDaniel, and I even think again, and I don't know if we're going to get into that Mike McDaniel conversation now, but I even think with Mike McDaniel, like hindsight looking back, there might have been a couple negatives with Mike McDaniel, even though he was my number one option. But there's going to be, no matter what OC they went with, if it wasn't Mike McDaniel, Jeff, I feel like Lions fans, there was going to be some sort of negative aspect to it. I'm glad that we just didn't do another type of a John Morton hire. And Dan easily could have done that. He easily could have got a guy like a John Morton again. And he actually went out and got an OC that, there's an upside to it.
Yeah, I think the thing that worries me is the what kind of Donnie was talking about, which it seems like that was something we were bitching about with John Morton. I'm not saying he's John Morton, but it's just that thing that I keep hearing about OCs that make me mad is the predictability element. That's actually the reason why I don't like Arthur Smith, is because Steelers fans say he's too predictable. And I've heard that I've seen Falcons fans say it when he was the head coach there. Like there's something about Ben Johnson, and I know he's one of only a couple in the NFL where these guys are elite play callers. So I know you're not going to get Ben Johnson or like a Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan typically. But what I like about those guys and what I like to see out of an offense is, the creativity, but I'm not even talking about trick plays. I'm talking about what do they call, what's a good word for it? Deception. All right. Deception, where you have similar plays or similar sets where you're watching film and you're like, okay, when they line up like this, they're doing this. And then week to week, you're changing what you're doing out of those same kind of sets, where Ben Johnson does that really well. Some of the best OCs do that really well, where you're keeping defenses on their toes. So they think something's coming, but then boom, something else happens. And, throughout a game, you're kind of being set up. Like that's the chess match I love watching. And maybe Drew Petzing can develop that in Detroit. Maybe that's something he can develop. But clearly that was not really something they did a lot.
That's a big thing as well, too. Like, not even just in a game, but like throughout a season. Remember, Ben used to talk about how in week 1 or 2, he would set something up because in week, down the line, he wanted to use it and kind of trick people. And he would be like, hey, weeks 1 through 8, we did this, but then we actually did that to set up some defenses that are going to look at us a certain way. So weeks 9 through 17, we did it a different way, and they had no answer to it. So I'm with you on that. When I heard Donnie talk about that, that was something that popped in my head, was the deception, and also like, not playing all of your cards in one hand, being a little,
and that, maybe that's where Dan can be like, listen, man, like,
and that's something that Dan obviously worked with Ben on, and Ben was good at. So,
and this is what you were kind of alluding to, the Jeff Darlington report, where the Detroit Lions reportedly didn't view, and I bet you any money this came from Mike McDaniel's agent. I bet this came from Mike McDaniel's agent, because the Lions wouldn't put this out. There's not even a chance they would say this. But it says they didn't view former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel as, quote, quite the right fit for them for their OC position. Instead, Dan Campbell hired Drew Petzing as their new OC. And I know, listen, this I can understand why people are pissed. This I understand. Because, and the reason why I say that is this to me says, and they hired Drew Petzing, who has a lot of the same ideologies. Dan Campbell is in his head. He knows what he wants. Okay. So clearly that's on the Dan Campbell. He wants a level of power, which I'm not saying is a bad or a good thing. I'm just saying that's what it is. Dan wants a level of power with the offense. And I think Mike McDaniel is just too big of a hire to where Mike would want some influence on that offense. Like, he would want his say on shit. You know what I'm saying? Mike McDaniel's that type of coach. I think Drew Petzing's like that level of coach where Dan could be like, listen, this is how it's going to go, and you're going to follow it. I think Mike McDaniel will be like, well, hold on, these are things I like to do. And I don't think Dan was, I think that's what it was when they say fit, because he's a great OC. I just think they maybe view some things differently, schematically.
Yeah, I think though the problem too, and I'm spot on. That's the first thought that I had, was I think Mike McDaniel wanted to implement his offense and wanted to run it his way. And listen, and maybe me and you disagree on this. The one thing with this offense, again, this goes back to me making a statement that I think the Lions are worried about the wrong side of the ball this offseason. And Lions fans are a little too upset about an OC hire and the wrong side of the ball, where this offense is still a top 5 offense in the NFL this year. So you don't need a massive structural change offensively. And I think that's maybe when Mike McDaniel came in, I think Dan, and not even just Dan, but I'm sure like Jared Goff and Amon-Ra, like I'm sure both of those guys, maybe even Jameer and Panay, like I'm sure a lot of these offensive, the stars on this team had somewhat of a say who the OC was and also met. Like, I know we talk about, hey, Jared Goff met with them. I'm sure Amon-Ra as well talked with Drew Petzing. I'm sure Amon-Ra and Jared Goff spoke with Mike McDaniel during the interview process. And I bet you it wasn't just Dan Campbell. I bet you some of these players spoke with these guys as well. And maybe Mike McDaniel wanted a full structural change and wanted to do his offense. And I honestly, this is where me and you might be different. I don't blame Dan for being like, no, we want to still have our same structure. Like, it's worked. Like, it's not like they're like, the issue with the offense isn't, hey man, we're 15th and we were first in the NFL last year. Like, up until about 4 weeks left of the season, this Lions team was number 1 in the NFL offensively. The only thing that hurt them and dropped them down to 5 was their third quarters. That was it. Like, the 3 and outs in the third quarters. So, like, their structure of their offense, I think, is actually very good, and it's what they need to run. And obviously, there's some changes. You need to run the ball a little bit more, get in under the the center a little bit more, and get into a couple maybe different personnel here and there. But like, I don't think it's something where it's like, hey, we need to completely bring a new OC in. And again, Mike McDaniel is my number 1. But I also said when we talked to Mike McDaniel that I was like, hey, I think Mike McDaniel could come in and you have your offense and your structure, but a Mike McDaniel twist to it would take it over the top. And it would help those third quarter struggles. And it would help you kind of be number 1 no matter what. And that offensive mind would change it. Jeff, I think you know me well. Like, if I was told 2 weeks ago that Mike McDaniel wanted to come in and change the whole offense, I would have probably been like, no, like, this offense is fine. Again, I think I think Lions fans and the Lions are worried about the wrong side of the ball. I think it's defensively you need to worry about this.
Yeah, which I agree with that. Yeah,
and us being like, oh my gosh, the world's ending because we didn't get Mike McDaniel. Like, There was probably, and we said this when we had him as our number one, there was such a small percentage chance that we were going to get him anyways. And also that it worked out together, that they meshed together. Like there was never a chance that Dan Campbell was going to change this offense. And I don't think it's him being hard-headed. I think if I was him, I would have the same opinion. We are a top 5 offense. What do we need to change? What are the tweaks? We have small tweaks we need to make.
Which, by the way, per Adam Schefter, former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is expected to become the Chargers offensive coordinator.
Fine. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants it there.
That just got tweeted. It just got put out 5 minutes ago.
Wow.
2 minutes ago.
I should tweet that from our account right now.
Yep. So, which again aligns up to what you're kind of saying, because, and the reason I still believe Mike McDaniel should have been the hire, but to what you're saying, Jim Harbaugh, like, he's going to let Mike McDaniel do whatever he wants. Like, he's going to let that man do whatever he wants, you know, and rightfully so, though. Like, that's why I would still love him with the Lions. It's like, dude, he's such a bright dude offensively. Like, if he has ideas, they're probably great ideas. Okay.
Yeah.
Which that's why I think Tampa was involved, because Todd Bowles isn't going to give a damn, you know, like, he's not going to care what Mike McDaniel is. Again, this just tells me he wants control of the offense, and whether or not, we'll see. You know, this is kind of like hey, we're going to have Drew Petzing because he runs my offense. And Jim Harbaugh was like, hey, Mike McDaniel, you can do whatever you want. You're a genius. So we're going to see. He gets to work with Justin Herbert. He's in nice weather, you know, which obviously that was another thing people kept bringing up, which I think had some truth to it. I think Mike McDaniel wanted to be in nicer weather. He's interviewing with Tampa. He interviewed with like the Eagles and Lions, but he interviewed with the Chargers. Like, I get the Chargers job with weapons. Ladd, you know, they got Ladd. You know, they got Quentin Johnston. They drafted a running back with in the first round last year. Good O-line. So I think he's got some things to work with, but you know, he gets a great quarterback, nice weather, and gets to do whatever the hell he wants. So, you know, did the Lions miss out? I think so. I really do. I think so, but who knows? Yeah,
I do think it missed out.
Who knows if the Lions really wanted him, like wanted him. I don't think he wouldn't have even chose the Lions, if I'm being honest.
Which is fair. And listen, it's one of those things where, again, he was my number one choice. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, he's the best out there. Does that mean it's always the best for your football team? It might not have been. And the fact that, and maybe, you know, when they had this conversation, maybe Mike McDaniel told Dan and them, like, hey, I think it's better if we don't do this. And then right after, Dan's like, okay, let's get our next best one. It was Drew Petzing. And that was why they ended up going Drew Petzing.
By the way, Jace, appreciate the $2. Says McDaniel's going to be the Chargers' next OC. Yes, he is. Appreciate the $2. Diabetic War Slug, appreciate the $2. He says Arizona had a 15th, 16th rushing offense in 2024 minus the scrambling quarterback. Okay, well, you're not going to have those yards. So, I mean, but you also have better running backs. So there's also that. So, but that is, I guess, something you do have to bring up. But yeah. It's official. He's going to the Chargers. So all the fans that are pissed off about it, I understand it. You know who's the most pissed off right now? Not only Lions fans, but Baker Mayfield. Guy just sent a tweet out taking shots at Kevin Stefanski, and they didn't even land the number one OC they wanted. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they go get Shieldhouse or something. But they wanted Mike McDaniel just as bad as the Lions. Trust me. So they're missing out as well. At least he goes to the AFC, I guess.
I was just tweeting out from my account, said a positive from the Mike McDaniel situation. He will not be the OC for the Eagles or the Bucks in the NFC.
Yeah, that's the takeaway, to be honest.
Yeah, neither of those teams got him. And you know what? I don't know if there might be another OC out there that's like, who are the Eagles going to get now?
Well,
Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff probably was probably never coming to Detroit. If they get him, but Cliff's been in a couple different spots and semi-successful. But like, who are the Bucks going to get now? That's where it's like interesting to where there's always these home run hires, but you know, like, and I think me and you said it last week, like, yeah, we want the home run hire, but the chances of it actually happening are really, really low. So getting very upset that they didn't hire Mike McDaniel isn't like the biggest thing in the world.
That's where I was curious. The one of the problems I had with the Drew Petzing thing, and it was really just the timing. It is kind of they must, again, like I said, they must really love Drew Petzing to where they didn't want to wait. But you like you mentioned with John Morton, usually you wait until offensive staff, a part of teams that are winning, trying to win a Super Bowl, are able to get hired.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? That's where I think that's probably a fair criticism is they jumped on.
I think, really to be fair, the teams that are playing right now, the Lions were able to interview those staffs.
They were. And yes. I don't know how many they interviewed. So they might have already interviewed them. But at least if you wanted to wait and maybe hire one of them, clearly they didn't like them. So.
Like Shieldhouse, like Nate Shieldhouse, like that was a name that Jake Peets was a big one that we talked about.
They interviewed
those were good names. It's just one of those things where and I hate to be that guy, like because I hate when people do this, but we really don't know the inner workings of what happened. Like maybe you interview Jake Peets and you interview Mike McDaniel, and they're both like, yeah, we're taking different jobs. We just wanted to, I don't know, give this one an opportunity. But I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm taking a different job.
Yeah, I do want to ask you just how much pressure is on Dan Campbell right now, because you got to think about coordinators right now. Going into the season, you have your coordinators, so you have Drew Petzing on offense, and you have Kelvin Shepard on defense. That's your two coaches going into the 2026-2027 season with a fourth place schedule, but in a year where, you're still going to be looked at as a very good team, given what they do in the offseason. We have to see draft and free agency and what happens. But what's that look like for Dan, man, and Brad? Like, that's what I'm curious.
Klotz texted us because he wants to get a clip. I don't know if we got it. He said, can you guys react to Mike McDaniel's getting hired to the Chargers? Do we have to re-react so he can get a reel? Should I re-react for the people?
Why doesn't he Klotz just make one?
Oh, he could. Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Because it'll be better.
But he said do it on the show. I mean, oh my gosh, Mike McDaniels has been hired by the Los Angeles Chargers. Jim Harbaugh would have hired. Dan Campbell misses out on Mike McDaniels. Bummer, man. Like, that's a tough man. Hey, that's a tough one. That's tough. But hey, Chargers, Justin Herbert with Mike McDaniels. Wow.
Oh my
Marion
God,
Hampton,
dude.
Oh,
what?
dude. Quentin Johnston. Wow. Mike McDaniels is about to go crazy with that Los Angeles Chargers offense.
Yeah, watch out. Hey, AFC West belongs to the Chargers now.
You thought Kellen Moore worked with Justin Herbert. Well, Mike McDaniel is about to have a field day.
How much is Mike McDaniel making? That's what.
He's going to make like 10 mil, I bet, dude. He's going to be making some money. That is crazy though. Like John Harbaugh, and then he brings it like his staff is. Dude, he has a great. Oh, he's going to lose Jesse Minter though, isn't he?
Probably, yeah.
He has an all-star staff, though, even if Jesse Minter stays. Yeah, Harbaugh, and then you have Jesse Minter as a DC, and then you have Mike McDaniel as an OC. And I bet you if Jesse Minter leaves, I bet you they still get like a Jonathan Gannon. Oh, real quick, by the way, Jeff, did you see the news? The fact that we're about to have, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We probably already do, but like the fourth best defensive coordinator in our division, because Jonathan Gannon is now interviewing for Jeff Hafley's defensive coordinator position with the Green Bay Packers today. So you're about to potentially have whatever Brian Flores does if he goes back, Jonathan Gannon, Dennis Allen, and then we have Kelvin Shepard.
Did you hear what Sean McVay said to Dennis Allen after the game on Sunday? They handshake. They gave a handshake, and he said, "You kicked our ass tonight." Like good. He's like, good job.
Dennis Allen, great defense. We could have had him. We went inside the building. We could have went and got Dennis Allen so fast.
Oh, that's where you're spot on with the take. I mean, we're talking about this offense. Can we just refocus what the actual problem's been? It's defensively. Yeah. Like, to your point, you're gonna have the fourth best. It's like fourth best. Like it's 4 out of 4. Last place defensive coordinator. I mean,
but that's why sometimes I get a little upset when people are like mad about the Drew Petzing hire, where it's like, I get it, but it's like, we don't even have an offensive problem. Like, we have a third quarter problem. That's like an easy fix. We didn't even have that big of an offensive problem. Our problem is defense. And it's like people are like banging the table like we were the worst offense in the NFL and Dan hired a No, we're top 5 offense. We will be with Drew Petzing or without Drew Petzing. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. And yeah. By the way, I just saw this report too, which I want to see. This is interesting. I just saw Lions fans putting this out. Check this tweet out. Let me show this. So the Cardinals, remember we had that question, why didn't the Falcons bring in Drew Petzing as the OC?
I saw this. Yeah.
The Falcons are interviewing Cardinals passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach Drew Terrell for their OC job. He was with the Chargers for their OC yesterday and Commanders previously. So they're interviewing.
Yeah, I mean, there's how many pass game coordinators get OC interviews. I mean, Hank Fraley had a couple last year.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But
he also
is a wide receiver coach. Apparently, they don't know how to use wide receivers too. So,
yeah. So I'm not like that. Like that does see, like, Lions fans make something out of it. That doesn't do anything to me.
Yeah. And the Falcons are not really a franchise that you're probably looking at as one of the model franchises. So yeah, no, that's fair.
Now, if the Eagles hired him, it would be like, wait a second. But like, he didn't.
You know what though? Like, and this is where I want to make something very clear. Okay. When something works, I get trying to replicate it and trying to, for example, Ben Johnson is worked out in Detroit. It was a great offense. So you're trying to kind of find guys that are close to Ben Johnson or share similar philosophies because you want to get back to that.
Drink beers with him.
But when you look at the defense, like Aaron Glenn, okay, like he had his moments for sure with 15-2. They were, he overachieved with that defense and all that. But like Calvin Shepard, you tried to get someone close to Aaron Glenn. The Packers lost Jeff Iafrate, and they're like interviewing guys from all across the league. Like they're not even looking at his assistants, I don't think. Like you're not going to see them hire a Jeff Iafrate assistant. They're going to go get they interviewed the Eagles DB coach, I think. It's like he's the DB coach, or he's like, he's he's kind of like Vic Fangio's right-hand man, who's they talk about him potentially getting the DC job after Vic Fangio leaves. But like they're looking with the Eagles, they're looking at Jonathan Gannon. Watch, they'll bring in Jonathan Gannon, who, by the way, might not even have, like, that's a new defensive guy, like probably new defensive ideologies, new defensive scheme. But he's just a good coordinator, and they want to make their defense good. So like I would, that's why like people are like, well, Calvin Shepard, that's what they want to do on defense. It's like wherever they want to do has not been working. So go get somebody outside the organization that can come in and fix this defense. The Packers are going to go get some random dude who's just not random, I shouldn't say, but an outside guy who's just a really good at his job. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to hire Jeff Iafrate.
I don't know why we don't do that with defense.
They're not going to hire Jeff Iafrate's freaking DB coach, or they're going to interview. Like they might have interviewed.
Well, think about when they got Jeff Iafrate. He was a head coach in college,
and they brought him in.
They were like, we want the best defensive mind in the world. And they went and got him.
Yeah, he did.
Why can't we have that mindset? We're like, you know what? We should develop someone. That would be really cool. We could say we did that. Oh, come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have Calvin Shepard next year. We do.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen? We're going to run into Calvin Shepard at like the combine. And I would have to guess, like, if there was a percentage you've seen us talking about him, I would guess it's pretty high. He's pretty active. So I would guess it's up there. I wonder how that interaction could go.
How do you feel? Because
I don't know how I'll react.
I said it. So this is where I'm at with this. This is where we got to have that conversation. And just foreshadowing. Nothing, but you're going into the season with one new coordinator and Calvin Shepard, who has a bunch of question marks. But do coordinators have some question marks?
Yeah.
All right. In a year where you want to, win a lot of games and have success. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, you got to have coaches that can out scheme and out coach other great coaches. So you have Calvin Shepard, who I'm not confident at all, and Drew Petzing, who I'm interested in. I want to see, him kind of. It's hard, like you said, it's hard to be like, well, I got to wait and see. But it is kind of one of those situations where you just got to wait and see what happens. But I mean, God forbid, this defense sucks. and you end up firing Kelvin Shepard, like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, if you're looking at Dan Campbell, this would be now back-to-back years where you're firing an assistant coach. You know, not guys leaving for jobs. Like, I'm talking about you're just firing guys. And they were both a part of your 2025 staff. Like, Kelvin and John Morton both fired. Like, that's a bad look for Dan Campbell. So I'm telling you, the amount of pressure on Dan Campbell this year, dude, is in Brad Holmes as well, because he has a big offseason as well in front of him, is big time for those two. Like, and a lot of it rides on the guys he chose to stick with, you know, like his guys. So it's like a lot of pressure on Kelvin, a lot of pressure on Drew Petzing, but they gotta prove Dan Campbell right. They have to, because
dude, if like, especially and again, defensive, I think it's more so like the defensive side. Like Kelvin,
really for Drew Petzing,
such a make.
Only for Drew Petzing is if Dan Campbell takes over play calling again. Like, then we're like, okay, dude. But again,
even if that happens, I'm guessing the Lions' offense is still good. Like, it's not like they're like, oh, this is a bad offense. They're still capable.
They will be
defensively. Defensively, though, you there was last year you had your moments where you were really good. You just were incapable, it felt like. And then the argument goes, well, we're not getting gashed and our safeties are hurt. You just can't have excuses. Like, you really can't. And like, there were still excuses. Like, you know how easy it would have been for the offense to be like, yeah, we weren't top 5 because we had a bad offensive line and Sam Laporta went down. No, they had like one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, and Sam Laporta went down, and they still were a top 5 offense. Like, it's not an excuse. And I think defensively, that mindset needs to happen. And Kelvin Shepard, like, that's why I'm like, for Dan, it's tough that like he kept Kelvin Shepard, and I get it. He might end up being good at some point and being a good coach, but that room for error is so far gone. To your point, like, you can't have back-to-back years where, you know, you're firing a coordinator because he didn't work out, especially someone that you could have probably went out and got an upgrade in this offseason.
And I think we're also, to be honest with you, my theory on it with the Mike McDaniel stuff, this is just a theory. I don't know. But I think if you brought Mike McDaniel in, he wants say on who's on the staff. I think that's also a part of it.
Oh, I didn't even think that. Yeah.
Because I think Drew Petzing is okay with Scotty Montgomery and Hank Fraley. And I'm not saying Mike McDaniel wouldn't like him, but I think Mike McDaniel would want his guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I think the Lions actually interviewed David Shaw. I think I saw that too.
They did. Yeah, I heard that too.
Interviewed David Shaw.
How do you think Scotty Montgomery feels about all this? Because he's a guy that comes up a lot in like head coaching conversations and coordinator conversations, and he seems like a guy that wants to progress his career. Do you think that like they're just not giving him the opportunity, and in his back of his head, he's like, man, like, or do you think he's like okay with it and he's just saying, I would,
if I'm him, it's like, you're in a great position right now. I get why he'd be frustrated though. He's interviewed for an offensive coordinator job, and I'm surprised that he hasn't been again, given that his position groups are still doing well. Like, he coached the running backs when they were great, and he coached the wide receivers when J-Mo and Amon-Ra both had 1,000, and Isaac Tesla was catching touchdowns left and right. So I honestly, Scotty Montgomery's been doing an amazing job. Like, he might be one of their best. He is their best assistant, honestly. Like, he is. I will say that, because he's coached every position group he's coached they've all gotten better. So, you know, it's like, I got to give him that. So I kind of understand if he's frustrated, but like, where you got to stay. I mean, where are you going to, you know, you're going to be a part of a staff that you're going to get looks.
By the way, too, little news from the Mike McDaniel thing. It said that the Bucs and the Eagles had him as their number 1 option, and he chose the Chargers. West Coast, I guess, West Coast. And then he said, and he said the appealing part about it was Justin Herbert. So I wanted to coach Justin Herbert. Which I don't blame him. I think Justin Herbert's
he's the best quarterback out of all the available jobs he was interviewing. I mean, I would think so. People.
The only thing that I think the Chargers can do is go get some better wide receivers, and then you get Joe Alt back. You get Christian Slater. Rashawn Slater. Christian Slater.
Yep.
Who's Chris? Oh, Christian Leitner. That's who I was thinking of.
Very good. Very good.
Duke legend. Rashawn Slater. You get him back next year. You have your offensive line fully back, healthy. And if you go out and get a wide receiver or two, one in free agency and in the draft, they should first round. They should get like a wide receiver. They should draft one of these guys coming out.
Get some dudes. Get like a because Lad McConkey's he's nasty in the slot, but Quentin Johnston, he was
decent this year.
Yeah, he actually he bounced
Keenan
back.
Allen old though.
Yeah, old, yeah.
I think you just go get a wide receiver, bring one more
Keenan.
weapon.
They drafted a guy at Ole Miss that we liked, Trey Harris, but he didn't really. He was all right. He didn't really do a lot. Yeah, but and they'll use wide receivers. I don't know about I'm curious what Drew Petzing does with the Lions with Isaac Tesla because they were in 11 personnel. They were 26th in 11th personnel, but that also could be because of
personnel.
I'm wondering. Yeah, I'm wondering.
Kyler Murray.
I'm wondering how that would work because, kind of like what Donnie was saying, he has, from his experience with Drew Petzing, it's like, this is how we're going to do things and everyone fits into that. I hope he doesn't have that approach with the Lions. I hope he's not like, hey, we're running a lot of 13 personnel. Give me 2 tight end. Well, give me one more because they have Brock Wright. So give me one more good tight end. We're running 13 because you have some good wide receivers. You got to utilize these guys.
They do love, by the Jeff, the Lions do love to run like big packages though. Like it works.
Not number one in the NFL, so probably
no. I think that might just have been based off of the Cardinals. I would think Dan Campbell's not going to let him completely, unless Dan Campbell's like, I kind of want to switch to that. I want to.
It's where the league's heading. 13 personnel is where a lot of the league's heading, but
they're going to draft. They're going to draft a tight end.
Probably it's yeah.
Oh, if they bring it, yeah, for sure. First round. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, they get your boy out of Michigan, that one guy. What's his name?
He just won the what's his name? He's hurt though. He was hurt for the Bulls.
Oh, great. No, it's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, come on, man.
He's hurt? Hell yeah.
I wonder who all the tight ends are in this year's draft.
This is where I still don't understand the Isaac Tesla pick. Like, it's not Isaac Tesla, it's Brad Holmes. I don't understand drafting Isaac Tesla and extending JMO. I still will never understand that. I just don't. It has nothing to do with I don't dislike JMO. I don't dislike Tesla. I just don't get the fit. I just don't understand the fit there. Like, if you trade up all these picks to get a guy, he's going to be your wide receiver 3 essentially his whole career. Like, what he did this year. Probably add like another 100 yards to that. I mean, what would he have? Like a couple 100 yards. He can probably get you Khalif yards, like 500, but that's all he's giving you yearly. I mean, he's not. He just can't blossom. Like he can't. We don't know.
It's not his fault either. It's really. Yeah. I mean that really just falls on Brad at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're gonna trade up for a receiver we love, and by the way, he was right. He's a really good player, but then we're gonna give $28 million to a wide receiver too. Like, okay. Unless they trade JMO, which again, I'm not saying to do, but I'm just saying for it to kind of make sense. Like, okay, we're going to pay Tesla, our wide receiver, 2 pennies. So that way we can go pay other guys. But no, I don't know.
Okay. There is a side where you could argue it because they might like they had to constantly go out and get like a Josh Reynolds or like a Marvin Jones Jr. Like they were constantly going out and finding Tim Patrick. Like they were looking for that third guy, and they were paying vets to where essentially maybe he looked at it as hey, for the next 3 or 4 years, I don't have to worry about doing that. I'm going to get a guy in here that's going to be cheaper than them, even cheaper than those guys. And I don't have to worry about it. The only, I think, part of I think that makes a lot of sense. The only negative about that was, hey, you did give up a lot of picks to do that. So it's like
really good. And he's really
good. 100%. But again, that's probably an upgrade. Like that wide receiver 3 spot is better than Tim Patrick or better than.
Oh, for sure.
So maybe that's how Brad looked at it. And if you want to make that argument, I think that's a little bit of a okay, I could see a little bit, even if you want to push back. But I could see
that's where I've always that's why I've always had a problem because I would have waited to see what you have in Tesla before you pay JMO. Like
that's I think a very fair argument.
Because then if he's asked or he's not as good as you think, you're like, okay, we're just gonna pay JMO. But if he's like, wow, this guy's a stud, you're like, well, we don't really need to pay JMO. Maybe we could trade him. And
I keep messing up. By the way, I keep messing up Drew's name. I keep thinking just random different names.
Drew Petzing. I know I had to say it. I was like saying it yesterday.
I forget the last name sometimes. Like my brain's just not fully.
You see the memes with them? Well, I'm not saying the Arizona Cardinals memes. Those memes are devastating. They made some bad ones with him, but where
does coaches see that stuff? Or if they're just like, we're not on social media.
I don't know. I hope not. The Cardinals made some just messed up stuff with him, but I saw Lions fans like putting him next to the Red Wings coach that they fired because he looks just like him.
It's kind of funny.
Coach Grew.
Coach Grew.
And he's like 5. He honestly is a small dude. Like
on the phone today, we had a meeting. Me, you, and Klotz had like an hour meeting today, and Klotz goes, "Boone, he's like your guy Pete Prisco," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we hired Pete Prisco."
He is. I think I looked up. He's 5'7".
So someone said 5'3".
He's not 5'3".
Someone in our group chat said, "Is this guy really 5'3"? Who was that?
Probably like Klotz or something.
Someone was like, "This guy's actually 5'3", and I was like, "There's no way." The dude played college football.
Says, oh, okay. So it says this is funny. This is hilarious. I looked it up, and it says on AI. I asked AI, and they said former Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing is reportedly around 5'7". So they never say what his height is.
All right, I think we have something we have to do. I personally will take it upon myself for the Lions fan base. I will find Drew Petzing. Sorry, I keep getting confused. I will find at some point, whether it's at the combine, wherever it's at, maybe the training camp, and we will get a side by side, me and Drew Petzing, and we will see the height.
No, Caleb.
Then I will. Well, no, I'll be me because people know at least I'm 5'10". Caleb's 5'5". I'll stand next so people will get an idea. Is Drew Petzing close to 5'10"? So if he's with me, he's there. If he's not, he's under. And then you know what I'll do? I'll ask him. I'll just be straight up. How tall are you, man? This is a big thing in Lions. We'll get a legit like a doctor's measurement from him. We will get that by the start of the year.
If your height on the internet is described with the words reportedly, that's how you know you're short. If it says he's reportedly,
is that disrespectful? If I ask,
someone had to report his height,
but I'm saying if I ask him, like I'm like stand next to him, like, hey, people in the Lions want to know how tall you are. Is he going to be like, what, or is he going to laugh? Like, is that like a?
Oh, he'll probably laugh. I mean,
I'll make him a joke. Yeah,
humor or not.
He does. He seems like he does. Seems like a good dude.
I mean, he's friends with Ben Johnson, so I don't know. Maybe they like Ben Johnson.
Who's taller, you or Ben? That's all I ask him.
Yeah, he's Dan Campbell's about a foot taller than the guy.
Is Arch, by the way,
on the sideline.
That'd be fun. That'd be funny to see.
Talking to Jared, he's gonna be like
him and Hank Fraley.
Him talking.
By the way, is our chat broken, or does yours? What's the last comment that you got? My last comment is 6 minutes ago.
Let me see.
What's happening? Are we live?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is broken because on YouTube it says it.
Yeah, because I'm like trying to read the comments on this, and I'm 6 minutes behind on comments. I just opened it up. The one comment I saw, the first one. I'm happy it was broken. Actually, screw the chat right now. The one comment says Booner like size. Come on.
The Steve Lehman 5'7", 3 foot is the forehead. Oh, shout out, hey, Drew Petzing, it's all love, man. But these are
I'm actually excited for the Drew Petzing. I hope we get to speak with him.
Get bro hat. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That's funny. Oh gosh.
This guy Jeff's going at Drew Petzing. This is unreal.
Oh, that's funny. Oh man, if he's probably you gotta laugh at yourself a little bit. I mean,
you gotta enjoy it.
Mike McDaniel's short, dude. Mike McDaniel's not tall either. Maybe it's like the geniuses aren't that tall, dude. Mike McDaniel's 5'9". I mean,
how tall is Sean McVay?
He's I guess 5'9" isn't actually
no. I mean, I'm 5'11".
Yeah, maybe I thought he was shorter. He looks smaller.
You're essentially
he's 5'10". I guess he just looks small on the field next to like big ass football players. I guess like NFL players are like 6 foot minimum, at least most guys.
Oh my gosh! Oh my god! Oh, sorry.
What just happened?
Dude, I have okay, fun fact. If you buy like water from the store and it's cold outside, don't leave it in your car because all of my waters are frozen. And now when I open them, the water goes everywhere.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, Spenny just texted our group chat and said, talking to how Neil, shout out to Neil, said today that McDaniel's ski wouldn't fit the offense. That's what Neil said. I don't know. I hate that. I get what you're saying, but I don't.
I just think, like, what do you need to change? You're the 5th best offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
You want to come in and restructure the whole thing and change everything?
I don't know about change. I don't know if change like the whole thing, but like I would trust them. A guy like Mike McDaniel would probably make it work. I mean, he's
but that what if that was you say that, but what if Mike McDaniel was like, no, I want my own, and they were just like, we just.
What if he's like, well, here's what I want to do to make sure we don't stall out in the third quarter. Can I change?
Then obviously Dan's probably like, yeah, okay. But I'm guessing my guess the fact that they didn't go with him because it just wasn't the right fit. My guess is like connect the dots. Mike McDaniel wanted his own offense. Like he wanted it his own.
Yeah, if I'm like McDaniel, I wouldn't want to work under Dan if he's doing that either. I'd be like, I want my own offense. I've had success with my offense. So I don't want to come somewhere where I'm restricted, where I can't have my offense.
And then Dan would be like, well, were you calling plays in San Francisco?
Be like, no, but I know what arguably the best play caller was
really
doing.
Just that's what if I was Dan, I'll do that in the interview. Yeah, Mike. Mike, huh?
You just bully the guy out of the room.
He just leaves in his suit. That's why he was in the suit at the airport.
Look at you in your little suit. Look at you in your little suit. Thinking you're all right.
Look at that nice little tie you got there, Mike.
Yeah. What do you know about offense, Mike?
Put your headphones around your neck, Mike. He just has those headphones like here this whole time. Obviously, that's funny. People just put the headphones.
Small head. He has like a small head. Maybe that's why his headphones they come up.
I don't know, dude. He's a smart guy. He might have a big brain though.
That's true. Yale guy. By the way, Steve Waltz's Tesla.
Oh wait, hold on. What'd you just say?
Yale guy.
Who else coached at Yale?
No, he went to Yale.
Yeah, but who also went to Yale and coached at Yale?
He didn't go to Yale.
I think I say he did.
He didn't go to Yale.
I think he took classes there.
I don't think Middlebury's a good school though. I think
he took graduate classes at Yale. I'm saying it now. I'm putting my stamp on it.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
And he coached at Harvard. And he coached at or somewhere else.
Oh, Boston College, which is
BC. Yeah, it's also a good one.
Which that's like, okay, can I say this too?
Dude, I'm just not getting any comments, man. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, I have a YouTube open so I can read them. I think StreamYard was just bugging out. I think people were kind of people were saying and by the way, the Drew Petzing thing, people were like, well, he interviewed for the Bears job. Guys, like Calvin Shepard just interviewed for the Dolphins job. So I don't know if I would use that either, if I'm being honest.
There was a moment. Well, David Shaw interviewed for the Bears job last year too.
Yeah, so people are like, well, he interviewed for the Bears job. It's like I get that. I'm trying to be reasonable here. I wouldn't like Ryan Poles actually went to Boston College where Drew Petzing coached. So like, they have connections. Same with actually Ben Johnson, I believe. That's why they had
Ben Johnson was there when he was there. Yeah,
and I think
they were all there together.
Like 20 guys. So they interviewed a lot of guys.
10.
Whatever it was.
I looked it up yesterday because there was a moment I thought John Morton did, and it was David Shaw. I got him confused. Easy mix up.
Yeah. So yeah, people were. I just want to bring that up too. I don't know. I think it was just doing their due diligence, probably, but you never know. I don't remember him interviewing. I should have looked into this more. I don't remember him interviewing for any other. That was reported at least. Jobs, but maybe I'm just
I looked it up today and nothing came up unless again it's like the Lions never reported they interviewed him, and there was probably guys the Lions interviewed that they didn't report this year, so you just never know.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you see Anzalone tweeted?
Yeah, what's going on with that, dude? Did you see all these tweets?
Anzalone could be back. I don't like this guy's like blue ball and Lions fans. I don't know what the hell.
I don't even know if it's like he could be back. It's that Anzalone was told he will be back.
Here, like that
feels like breaking news.
This is what we let me put this up there. Okay, so we tweeted this out. It was a response to a tweet that was a response to a tweet. So
Don, go up real quick before you show all of that. No, not there, to the original tweet.
So
Don. Yeah, he said he was going at Alex Anzalone about something. He said you were good last year, Alex. Lions probably move on due to future cap constraints. But you will get a nice paycheck this offseason. If you go down just a little bit, I believe.
Oh.
How do you know that? That's not what I heard. In regards to the Detroit Lions moving on from Alex Anzalone, Anzo was like, how do you know? Not what I heard. And then if you go up, other way.
Oh.
Yeah, you got this, man.
This tweet is so
the Detroit Times. No, it's easy. It's the Don tweeted out and said, Anzo, you're gonna end up leaving because of cap constraints. Anzo tweeted back and said, are you sure about that? That's not what I heard. So insinuating that the Lions were like, you're going to be back. We want you back. Then the Detroit Times obviously screen grabbed that and said linebacker Alex Anzalone hints at the possibility of returning to the Lions on a cheap deal next season, which he didn't ever said cheap deal. He just said that's not what I heard, that he returning. And Anzo response said, who said cheap? So it sounds like Anzo is getting offered by the Lions. They might have a deal out for him. That's not a cheap deal that Brad's going to spend some money on our guy, Alex Anzalone, which really, like, I don't know how you feel about it, Jeff.
No, I'm out. I love Anzo, man. I love Anzo. I got so much respect for him. I'm just trying to look at this from the GM's perspective. Like, if Anzo was here, we'd be like, Anzo, you're one of, honestly, my personal favorite Lions players just to watch play football. He's the guy just plays. He should get paid somewhere. Like, I would, if I was another team and I had money and I need a linebacker, I'd pay an Anzo. I want Anzo part of my team. I would love him. Every team loves him. But the problem is Jack Campbell's bills due, and you got all these other guys and their bills due. So I'm focused on this O-line. How can we put resources into that while also trying to retain some of our young players? And can we afford to bring back Anzo? How about you just draft Jahad Campbell last year and you're not in this situation? Or how about you just don't draft or extend maybe Derek Barnes and choose Anzalone over him?
And you can bring Anzalone back if you didn't have the Derek Barnes situation.
So, and again, nothing against it. It's just the reality. We're just playing GM here. Okay. We're not trying to like, I'm happy for Derek Barnes and his family. They got paid, but like, we're just being GM here. I would say no to Anzo. I just don't think if it's not cheap. So it's funny that he said, who said cheap? I'm saying cheap if you're coming back, Anzo, because we can't afford, Lions can't afford it, man. Like, what are you going to have? 10 million tied up in Anzo, 8 million tied up in Derek Barnes, and then like 20 tied up in Jack. You're going to have like 40 million among 3 linebackers. Like, no one does that. No one's doing that, bro.
It's a lot of money, man. Yeah, and especially when you have to start kind of looking around the other position groups and spending money. And I think the biggest one is like you got to spend a little bit of money on offensive line. So it's you can't put all this money in one specific position group. And I'm with you. Like, I think Anzo's one of my favorite Lions that we've had in a while. But again, it goes back to the whole, it really just falls back to the whole Derek Barnes thing. It's like, hey, you chose to pay Derek Barnes. That probably could have been Alex Anzalone's deal. And that was a decision Brad made.
Yes.
And it could have, now you like hindsight backfired. Like, a lot of people were so happy. And I know a lot of people dunked on Klotz and all these different people who had a conversation about Derek Barnes' contract. But Klotz is kind of right in the sense of, man, like, you could use that money towards Alex Anzalone or another linebacker. Now you're in a spot to where either you have to pay Anzo or move on. And right here, it sounds like they want to pay him, and they might pay him. But then it's like, you don't have money to fix your O-line. You don't have money. Like, it's just, you're in such a weird spot with the cap because they've paid so many people.
And and by the
Brad,
way, Klotz wasn't going. People like the tweet, the response he got, like, people are acting like Klotz was going at Derek because he's mad Derek got money and his family got a bunch of money. No, Klotz, like, and that's where people were like, how dare you be upset that someone just got their life changed because they got paid? That's not at all what Klotz was saying. The guy was trying to bring up, like, it's not even about Derek Barnes. Okay, let's get rid of him for a second. It's paying Aleem McNeil. It's paying J-Mo when you draft Tesla. It's like there's so many other things. It's not even just Derek. It's just the money being allocated. How you allocate the money is the issue here. If you want to bring back a guy like Anzo, it's like you're putting the money elsewhere. You've already kind of made your bed. Now you got to lay in it. Like you can't afford Anzo. It's just the reality. Like they should just draft a linebacker, or they should have drafted Jahad Campbell last year, and they probably wouldn't have to worry about this. But
one of the tough parts with Brad that I'm kind of noticing is you can't. And I think if you have a really good team and if you built a roster like Brad did, you are going to have to make a decision to move on from some guys. Brad hasn't done that yet. He's just paid everyone, and it doesn't feel like a good strategic way to go about it. To where you're just like, we're just going to pay who's next. Like that, Brad is essentially just paid who's on the table next, and he hasn't really strategically, in my opinion, because he hasn't. Again, it's not even my opinion; it's kind of a fact because you haven't seen him walk away and let anyone walk or go into free agency now. Besides like an Anso, Brad hasn't like any of these big names hasn't gone through and been like, yeah, we just can't pay this guy. And we thought J-Mo was going to be that guy because they drafted Tesla, and he paid J-Mo within like a few months of that. And he's literally paid every player. Like what big player has he let walk? And like in the chat it said Iffy. Like Iffy wasn't like a high level where you're like, oh, that's a like I'm talking about like some of these guys like the J. Yeah, I'm talking about like the J-Mo, the Jahmyr Gibbs, the Sam Laporta's, the Kirby Josephs, the Jared Goff, the Penei Sewell. Like there's like a whole list of these guys that you knew are getting paid. He just hasn't. Like it's just next man up, and he's just paid every single guy that's been up next. Maybe besides Iffy, if you want to count him in that conversation. But like I think J-Mo could have been a guy you waited on. I think like Derek Barnes, like that was one.
That was another one. I mean, there's
and then I would rather just wait on Derek Barnes and pay Anzo. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, and Tim's right in the sense where that's a draft pick he walked away from who had a good year. But he hasn't really done that with anyone. He's drafted. That's like a good player, knowing that you can't afford them.
He just he always pays them. And
like,
there's no like decisions that he makes.
The first time he'll do that is this draft class, Jahmyr, Jack, and Brian. Like he's probably gonna have to.
You have to not, but that's the thing. He's now put in a position where he has to, and he has no choice. But if you do it where you look at like the overall, like the whole bigger picture, is you could have made that decision of who you wanted and who you didn't. Instead, he just paid every single player that was up next. That he was just like next. Now you're in a spot to where like. You could have walked from Derek Barnes, maybe could have walked from Aleem McNeil, and you could have kept a Brian Branch. But now it's like you have to. Now the guy's at the end of now you have to.
Yeah, it's like what do they say? What does what Brad say? We draft, develop, and sign our own guys. You should draft, develop, and sign your own guys if they're worth it. If they're great players, and they've shown they can be great players and
if it's affordable,
productive for you, and it's affordable, of course. And I think there was times where maybe Aleem McNeil showed he was a good player, but there maybe like for me, and I know many fans felt this way. Like you wanted to see more out of Aleem with production. Like he wasn't a really super productive player. And I'm not saying people will say, well, he plays a position that's not really productive, guys. He's a 3-tech. Look at some of the best, defensive tackles that are getting paid in the league. They all produce. Like it's not like Aleem McNeil will have a sack every season. There's defensive tackles that are getting 8-9 sacks in a year, and they're going to get paid. Like Aleem had 4 or 5, and that was like his career high. Like he's a 3-tech. They got DJ Reader to play that nose tackle spot, so it was confusing. But we'll see. They can cut guys, to Steve's point. He says you can cut Aleem after this year. We'll see if they would do some stuff because the guarantee money will kind of run out. So maybe Brad, I don't know, but Brad, that's part of being a GM, man. You got to make those really tough decisions. Very
like Taylor Decker could be cut this year.
That's like another one. It's like loyal to guys versus hey, this is what's best for our football team.
Money, what can we afford?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, burning issue. Shep told us that he pounded the table for Brad to extend Barnes. Said he needed him to run his defense.
Do you think Anzo feels a little like, well, now I got to go because you pounded your table for Barnes to get that money?
when I was a better linebacker every year. Yeah, probably.
Like you pounded the table like we
dude,
need Derek
Barnes. Anzo has something. He's so Jack is your captain. He's like your green dot. He kind of does everything. But Anzo's role is like he is literally your cover line. Like they throw him on tight ends, and Jack can play the run. Jack's like a Swiss Army knife. But Anzo's job is like Derek can't do that. Derek ain't covering tight ends like Anzo. If you're going to replace Anzo, it's not going to be with Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes can't, all due respect, can't do what Anzo does. Like you know what I mean? He can't do that.
Yeah.
Anzo, Jack can, but Jack's already strapped already. Like he's doing a bunch of things already. So they need a linebacker that can cover, which those guys don't just grow on trees, and you have Anzalone, you can do it. And now you can't really afford him. Maybe they will bring him back. I just don't think I don't know. I just don't think it's something they're really going to be able to do. A and B should do, given the money. Honestly, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of seeing the coaches. I want to at least talk before we get to mailbag. We'll do mailbag in about 9 minutes, and you guys can ask questions and we'll answer them and voice your thoughts. Go ahead.
I was going to ask this an NFL question.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh got the Titans job. What's going on? Were the Chiefs just going to move on from? Were the Chiefs? Are they more so like our offense was bad this year with Matt Nagy? We want something new. They're
not going to say it, but I think like Alex Smith went on Kay Adams' podcast and was like, he's not coming back. Like Matt Nagy's not.
Yeah, because I thought Matt Nagy was going to end up getting a head coaching job, and it feels like he just might be an OC for a different team or not have a job next year, which is kind of crazy.
He's the scapegoat. He's the guy they're going to blame. Yeah.
Yeah, and they brought back Eric Bieniemy, who was very successful as the OC, and obviously neither of them are going to be our play callers because that's Andy Reid, but Andy Reid wants who's he's comfortable with, and that's crazy. When I saw today or last night when I woke up this morning and Robert Saleh had that job, I was like, oh, what's that mean? Matt Nagy done.
Yeah, I wonder what now here before I get to the Robert Saleh stuff, I think what Eric Bieniemy does so well is he can coach every position on offense. Like he can coach he coached the running backs for Chicago. They were great. So like Andy Reid can call plays and the running backs were really bad this year. Eric Bieniemy just coached running backs. So I think he just adds more to what they, he's valuable to them.
Yeah.
I don't know what Matt Nagy's just, I think he could be a play caller somewhere, but they already have a play caller in Andy Reid. Like they kind of, they didn't even bring back Mike Kafka. That was like a part of it too. Maybe they were going to bring him back. Nope. Didn't bring him back.
Eric Bieniemy. They wanted someone who's familiar in that building.
They wanted someone like, yeah, exactly. And now to Robert Saleh, I like Robert Saleh. I think he's a leader of men. He's a great defensive mind. I don't love the hire in Tennessee. I just don't. I think they're kind of trying to. They're trying to get. I mean this respectfully, but it seems like Mike Vrabel light. That's what they're trying to do again, where they fire Mike Vrabel and they get Mike Vrabel. Like they get Robert Saleh, who's literally the same like alpha defensive guy.
He's just a higher level.
Yeah, I mean that's how they're looking at it.
Or I mean, Mike Vrabel's just like
he's like the highest level of.
Yeah, he's just not as high of a level as Mike Vrabel. He's the style, but he's not as good.
And it proves my theory again that coaches, whenever they fire coaches, they get the opposite. They have an offensive coordinator or offensive coach. They go defensive coach. I think this is one of those situations you should go offensive coach again, and get someone that's actually not an idiot to coach Cam Ward.
Hey, dude, you're funny because you always I love how you can turn it to where you always end up going back to somehow you're like offensive coach. You're like, I've never heard you be like, you should get a defensive coach here. If you ran every NFL franchise, there would be no defensive coaches in the NFL anymore.
No, I would.
Even on the defensive side of the ball, there'd be offensive guys.
It'd be an offensive guy coaching defense. Yeah.
Yeah. If you had anything to say.
No, but I love Robert Saleh. I think this is going to be a massive hit to the 49ers. I think this is going to be massive.
Agreed. I mean, they could obviously go out and get a DC, but we'll see what happens with that.
Because they're going to have to go get a dude because Robert Saleh was valuable to them. Like, he's valuable. And now you have a division with – what's that division look like? So you have D'Amico and Robert Saleh, who are both under Shanahan, going at it. Two defensive guys. What's that division? You have the Titans, Texans,
Colts,
Jags, and Colts. So you have two offensive guys, two defensive guys in that division. So that's probably
it'll be interesting. The number one thing for Robert Saleh in Tennessee, and the number one priority for him, and it's going to make or break his career in Tennessee and kind of his head coaching career, because it's his second opportunity in like a couple of years. So he might not get this opportunity again. The make or break he needs, and again, it's like as a first year head coach, you get a couple of years maybe to pick an OC. He needs to get his OC right first try. Like he's not allowed to, like, there's no like wiggle room for him to miss on the OC. Like with Cam Morton there, it's very pivotal for him to go in and make the correct OC hire right away. He needs to find, and Mike McDaniel was going to be that guy. It sounded like this morning when he got hired, I kept seeing tweets saying the favorite to be the OC is Mike McDaniel, for him to go in there and work with Cam Ward. And obviously Mike McDaniel just took the Chargers job in the last hour. So I don't know, maybe, and I actually saw a tweet that said Brian Dable interviewed for that job as the head coach, but he's not out of the race for the OC job there. So imagine Robert Saleh and Mike and Brian Dable, who both were head coaches for the Jets and the Giants at the same time. Now imagine them on the same staff in Tennessee.
That's a weird.
That'd be something.
That's like two just absolute alphas. Like,
if you told me that 2 years ago when they both were the head coach of the Jets and the Giants, it'd be like, hey, Robert Saleh is actually going to be the head coach of the Titans and Brian Dable's going to be his OC. I'd be like, you're lying, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're right, though. You're right. He has to nail the offensive hire
right away, first try.
I actually, and I'll say this, like, as much shit as Kevin Stefanski gets, I actually like him with the Falcons. I think that's a really good hire for them. So
did you see Baker's tweet?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he gets, by the way, and people act like, and you guys call me crazy for going at Kevin Stefanski sometimes for like the PR side of it. Like, he gets a lot of shit. Baker Mayfield tweeted out another bit that took a shot at him. Like, I wasn't just playing victim. Like, people actually have a problem sometimes with Kevin Stefanski. I think he's a bright dude offensively, but he gets.
Is he a bad dude?
I don't know, man. I mean,
no way he's a bad dude.
You had the shit this year. I'm telling you, the shit this year with Shedeur, and people think like Shedeur, whatever. Like, we'll dismiss it, but look at Baker threw a shot at him because some tweet. He replied to said Falcons Kevin Stefanski had a dumpster fire at quarterback in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters. QB Shedeur Sanders closed out last season with 7 starts, and Baker said, failed is quite the reach, pal. Still waiting on a text call from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach.
that's such a crazy tweet.
Yeah, no, it is.
That's I love Baker too. That's why I like Baker's, because of that stuff, dude. Baker's just always been like, I'll say it how it is.
Yeah,
since he's been at Oklahoma, he was like that at Oklahoma, man. When he planted the flag at Ohio State,
he's got that moxie, man.
I love it.
Yeah, so I like Kevin as an offensive guy, but there is people do, they give him shit for some of that. Now we get to see Falcons Buccaneers games. That'll be good.
Twice a year, dude. That's going to be
twice a year. Fun. Yep. We'll see. But drop your mailbag questions. By the way, the other head coach openings, they're going to start filling out soon because, like you said, we talked about it. Halfley got the Dolphins job. Saleh, he got that Titans job. Stefanski with the Falcons. Obviously John Harbaugh to the Giants. I mean, you still have the Raiders. They're waiting on Clint Kubiak. He'll probably go there. And then you have the Cardinals job, which no one wants. No one wants the Cardinals job. That's just that.
I don't think anyone wants the Browns job.
No one wants the Browns because Mike McDaniel was like, nope, I'm good.
I would rather take the Cardinals job than the Browns.
Yeah. I'm with you. Full Slate Farms Mailbag. Did Booner's spin zone on Drew work on you, Jeff? Can
we have a little respect for the guy, huh?
No,
I'm kidding.
Listen, me and Booner are in lockstep, but like the guy, clearly there's question marks, dude. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say Drew Petzing is the guy who answers every question. Could you have gotten better? Resume wise, yeah, but it seems like Drew Petzing's the fit for them. So I don't even think it's about putting a spin zone on him or anything. I think it's just being honest. Like, clearly they like him as a fit. That's what it is. I mean, we're gonna find out, man. I don't love it, but here we are. It's on Dan. So clearly Dan is gonna he's comfortable putting a lot into that stock, the Drew Petzing stock. So we'll find out. J Hart Mailbag, what's the chatter about this new OC affecting J-Mo and Sane? I seen the heavyweights bring it up earlier. I went through that. I think I don't believe that. I think what I'm more worried about is Isaac Tesla. I think that's where you can talk about. I don't think J-Mo and Sane are going to be like affected because, like Kurt Warner brought up on the podcast, he went on the Cardinals podcast. They asked him about the offense and why they don't develop wide receivers. And he was like, well, listen, guys, like offensive play callers, always the first progression or always the first read, typically is your wide receivers. Like that's on the quarterback in Arizona why they weren't. That's on Kyler Murray why he wasn't throwing to wide receivers, bro. Like, maybe scheming guys and getting guys open was part of it on Drew Petzing. I'm not going to say I don't agree with that, but I'm not going to say the guy's just going to ignore a top 5 receiver in one of the most explosive players in the NFL. I don't think it's that bad. So Isaac Tesla, we could talk about that. How much they have 3 wide receivers on the field? Okay, fair. But me and you are probably in lockstep with that. I'm not like, I don't think Amon-Ra is going to have 800 yards like all of a sudden.
No, I think he's going to be Amon-Ra still. Like, again, that's why I think they brought him in and not like Mike McDaniels because they wanted to keep kind of a similar offense and what they do, just kind of adding a little bit of what Drew Petzing does with running the ball a little bit more and a couple more different personnels. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to change too much. Maybe he's just going to add a little bit of a kind of his tweak to it.
Let's see. Burning issues. Mailbag, who do you blame the most for the failures last season? Brad or Dan? I blame Brad more. His cornerback snob shit, pulling receipts with arrogance, throwing away third-round picks on nothing. I think Brad is number one. I think Dan Campbell is the second. I think they're both to blame because coaching is important in the NFL, and they weren't great at their coordinators weren't great, and that's on Dan. So, but Brad's number one. I would agree with that.
Yeah,
Brad.
I would agree.
Yeah, there's a lot of things Brad missed on in general.
I could be wrong. I think in the back, I think there was some moments with Dan probably where Dan was like, we should have had somebody. Like I would think Dan was frustrated with some of the offensive line that wasn't addressed.
Offensive, yeah.
You would think, right? Like if you're the head coach, you're like, hey man, like, obviously they work hand in hand when it comes to the roster, but obviously the roster wasn't up to that level.
Yep.
Coach probably was a little frustrated.
I think I agree with that. ETM Mailbag, who will be the most improved team in the league next year? It's a great question.
I've got it. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
New York Giants.
That's a great,
I think they won 4 games this last year. I think Jackson Dart gets in, after his rookie year, first full year, because last year he didn't start right away. Cam Scatterbo comes back. Malik Neighbors ends up getting healthy. That offensive line is going to be good. Now you have John Harbaugh running that offense or that defense as well. Kind of I know he's a special teteams guy, but his defenses are always spot on. So
I think the Giants could contend for the playoffs year one.
I think they'll make the playoffs next year. I actually do believe that.
I like that. I like them because the Dolphins are going to suck, and I think that the Giants. It's just looking at teams that have new head coaches.
Okay. I was for a second.
Not division, but the Dolphins are going to suck. Like Browns are going to suck. Titans are going to suck. Cardinals are going to suck. Like I'm just looking at like teams that fired their coach. Raiders.
Yeah, this is going to sound crazy. I wouldn't be shocked if somehow the Giants have an opportunity to win the NFC East next year.
Yeah, it depends on how good Jackson Dart gets in the second year, which he could come out and be really good.
Scatterbo back as well. Scatterbo.
They got to get They got to get Malik Neighbors. They got to get a number 2 wide receiver. Like they got to get
for sure. I'm sure they will this offseason. But even like look at last year. If you look at let me just pull up their weapons from last year. Like you're looking at it like this. Next year you have Jackson Dart, right? He's fully back. You have Cam Scatterbo and Tyrone Tracy, who Tyrone Tracy just ran for 740 this year. Wendell Robinson just had over 1,000. Darius Slayton had 500. Theo Johnson, tight end, 505 touchdowns. Like, dude, they do have – if you add Malik Neighbors to that and Cam Scatterbo, dude, you have a good room of weapons. And those are all guys now who have more experience. Like Theo Johnson was a rookie, 500 yards. Sorry, second-year guy. I apologize. I believe second-year guy. That's on me. Hand up.
Yeah.
Mistake.
But Jackson Dart loved him. He was throwing to him a lot. He was targeting.
And then you just add a couple more weapons, Jeff. Like you draft a weapon or two. You maybe sign them for a couple free agents. Oh, dude, they could win that division. And that defense, they have so many pieces on defense.
Phil says, Mailbag, why or does not everyone can be a Lion apply to coaches? Also, I don't think it should apply to coaches.
I don't understand this question.
Like, you know how Brad and Dan say not everyone can be a Lion, not every player.
Oh, okay.
Does that apply to coaches? I don't think it should. No, that's not the because they're not. We got because that to me that's a little too hard ass. It's like, well, not everyone can coach here. It's like, well, no, there's good coaches out there that can definitely coach here. Like, it's not like,
yeah, I don't think they would have brought.
I don't even like it as a player thing. Like, I get if you're an ass, like if they have like criminal records or some huge question, but like if you're a talented football player and you fit with the team, like, come on and play football. Like, all that matters is winning football games. Like James Pierce, I don't care if you yelled at a coach once in college. Like, welcome to the team, bro. I'll take your 10 sacks. Thanks.
Welcome to the team, bro.
Like, I'm over the whole, like, not everyone can be a Lion thing. It's like, bro, Ennis Rakestraw and these guys, like, yeah, they can be Lions, but are they like good players? I don't know.
I think being a part of being a Lion is staying healthy.
Yeah, that should be the qualification.
So we should add that to
Davenport, Josh Pascal, these guys, like, are they just good enough to be Lions? No, like, can you stay healthy? That's what I care about.
I got some receipts of people today saying that Marcus Davenport was better than AQM.
Oh gosh, yeah. If I know, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, good, gosh. A lot of people,
and that was like halfway through the year.
Got a lot of guys with their heads getting too big, man. That's what that is, honestly. Patty Grimes,
got a lot of receipts.
Would you rather be a best man in Drew Petzing or Ben Johnson's wedding?
I think Ben Johnson's wedding.
Yeah, I want to see Ben absolutely plastered. I think that would be.
I mean, I feel like we see it after the games. I feel like we get a pretty good idea of what he's like when he's plastered. Yeah,
that dude's probably a riot, honestly. Yeah, no, definitely Ben Johnson for that reason. Christopher French, appreciate the $5, my friend. He's Parker Brailsford, Alabama. Top-rated center in the draft. He's projected to go in the mid-second. Would you trade back for an extra pick? We've said, yes, we're open to it. You want more draft?
Would love to trade back for a second pick. Trade back to like 27, 28, draft a tackle, add another second-round pick, add another third, or add a third-round pick. Because, dude, Jeff, do you remember last year, and obviously every draft is different. Do you remember last year the Falcons traded up like just a handful of spots? And it wasn't even like they traded all the way up to like 11 or 12. I think the team traded back like 5 or 6 spots, got a first-round pick for this year, a future first-round pick just to trade back like 6 or 7 spots. The Lions could go from 17 to 26, 27, and I bet you could get a haul if a team really wants a player, especially if someone starts to fall.
Let's see. Tim says we skipped over his mailbag. Where's your mailbag there, Tim?
Come on, Jeff. You got to be a little better than that, man.
Yeah, where the hell did Tim even ask a question?
I'll find it. I got it, Tim. Don't worry. Well, shout out this. Did we already do this one?
No, we did not. Appreciate it. Nobody says mailbag. Have a good Tuesday. Oh, Tuesday. And thank you, fellas. Appreciate you, nobody. Appreciate
Tim.
you. Oh, he said this. Is Drew a booth or sideline guy?
Oh. I think he's a sideline guy. I'm pretty sure. Every picture I've seen, he's on the sideline. I still can't believe that John Morton's like, I'll be in the booth. It's so, I know coaches do it, but it's just so shocked. Like, what made John be like, hey, Dan, like, is it cool if I'm in the booth? Like,
what?
Dan's like, I love that idea, actually. Yeah, like, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's awesome.
We've never done that before, but you know what? For you, I think we could really do that.
Live from Greenland, USA, says Mailbag, what week will Megamind Petzing be stripped to play calling?
Come on, man.
Oh,
Xavier
dude.
D, did you guys find Tim's mailbag? We did, Xavier D.
Dude, I'm crying.
It's unbelievable. Come on, man.
Oh,
give the guy give him a little bit of a chance. Don't do it. Can I say this? Let's not do what we did to John Morton last year, where we went into the year and everyone already was like, "We're out on John." Yeah. Can we at least get we got into camp and everyone was like, "No, we're out on John Morton." As soon as they found out in preseason game number 1 he was in the booth, everyone said, "We're done." Can we at least give Drew a chance? Give the guy an opportunity.
Yeah. By the way, hit that like button on the way out. We appreciate you all. Tomorrow, I'm excited. We're talking to the DOC, and we're going to have Russell Brown on. Russell Brown's a pro Drew Petzing guy. Big pro.
Yeah, I'm pumped up to talk to Russell.
We're going to have the next couple of days, we're kind of having like different perspectives. We had Donnie today bringing in a lot of more negative, which we love. We want all of it, all the perspective on Drew Petzing. And then tomorrow we get Russell Brown, who's a big Drew Petzing guy. And then we have the doc to crap all over Drew Petzing probably 45 minutes into the show. So it's going to be a great show tomorrow. Xavier Mailbag, would you be okay with Anakin going 3 rounds with John Jones if it meant the Lions win the Super Bowl?
100%, dude.
We would pull Anakin out of his house and throw him in the octagon.
Oh, dude, yeah, we would live stream the whole thing.
Yeah, we would
live stream it.
We would put Anakin wouldn't have a choice.
What does this mean, by the way?
Booner pills.
What's that mean?
I think he's just adding an extra O to something that's already a thing. I think that's what it's. I think.
Or maybe just okay.
Yeah, no. There's no reason to overthink that one. I think.
I was like, what does that mean? What are we talking about there?
We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your night, and hit that like button on the way out.
Love you guys.
Merchandise, fishcitysports.com. We'll see you tomorrow.